use that gavel.
If folks could please take their seats, we're going to call the meeting to order.
They can't hear you.
Stacy, come on up. Thank you. It's fine. All right, so Select Board meeting of Monday, September 8th is called to order. We're going to jump right into acceptance of donations. Sorry. Michelle Pryor, joined by Vice Chair Anthea Brady, and our members Bill McGonigal, Paris Bayani, and Mike Betancourt. We're going to jump right into the agenda this evening. Thanks, Anthea.
Move that we accept a donation of $30,000 from the Cummings Foundation's Make a Difference Dollars program to the Winchester Coalition for Saving the Community for their interface referral service.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Move that we accept with gratitude a grant of $65,826 from the FY 2026 State 911 Department Support and Incentive Grant Program to the Police Department.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Move that we accept with gratitude a grant of $12,608.44 from the FY 2026 State 911 Department Training Grant Program to the Police Department.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Move that we accept with gratitude an EEC stabilization grant of $13,720 for the Recreation Department Kid Connection WRAP EEC childcare license for the month of August 2025.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Move that we accept with gratitude a donation of $440 to the Council on Aging for appreciation of transportation services.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Move that we accept with gratitude a grant of $4,250 from Mount Vernon House to Council on Aging for the newly expanded caregiver support program.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There's a lot of donations. Thank you for all those community organizations. We do have a couple of staff appointments this evening. There was a memo from the Assistant Town Manager. I will update the board. The Treasurer Collector, the Principal Clerk, I had met with the Treasurer about 3 weeks ago. This clerk had done a similar job in another town. This is an open position where someone on the Treasurer's staff, I think, had taken a different job in Town Hall. So this Dina comes highly qualified, having done the role with municipal experience in another municipality. And the working foreman DPW was another open position that had been advertised and was re-advertised. And the candidate, Kyle, has all the appropriate certifications and licenses. So I wanted to give the board that update on those conversations. If someone wants to make a motion, we have to waive our 15-day on this one.
Move that we waive the 15-day appointment period for Dina Scarpelli for the Principal Clerk CS 26.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Move that we waive the customary 15-day appointment period for Kyle McComiskey, working foreman.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Thank you. Madam Comptroller, where'd you go?
I'm behind you. Do you want us to do the appointments first?
We can do, would you like us to yes, we can do appointments first, Stacy. Thank you. And when we do, please come back so we can see you. Thank you. All right, so tonight we have a few interviews and appointments to make, some reappointments. But we're going to start with interviews first, and we'll start with the Archives Advisory Committee. So if Nancy is in the room, if you could come on up and have a seat. And good evening, Ms. Schrock.
Good evening.
Everybody has your application, so we have your materials, and we will just ask you to maybe talk about yourself and why you're interested in joining the Archives Advisory Committee, and anything else you'd like to tell us. So,
Okay, I'm actually a recidivist. I'm returning.
coming back, okay.
Yeah, I've been involved with the archives since they moved to Town Hall in 1991. I wrote the grants that moved it from a card catalog to what it is now, which is one of the best sites in the state. We have 7,000 of our photographs online, available and also searchable on the web. In addition, we have an archivist as a position, Ellen Knight, and she has written essays on the history of Winchester, Winchester History Online, which is excellent. I'm proud to have been part of the grant writing, and I served as chair of the Archives Advisory Committee. I'm coming back because I feel the archives is at a critical point, and that is the retirement of Ellen Knight, who has single-handedly been our town historian. I'm interested in serving again to help with the job search and the transition to maintain these high standards that we've set so far, really with an amazingly small number of hours. And I look forward to working with Mary Ellen and our chairs, Susan Keats, to ensure that the position as it's developed includes a strong archives component as well as records management.
Great.
And I've lived in Winchester 43 years and have been curator of the Historical Society for about 15. And professionally, I'm a conservator of books and documents, and I've done a lot of pro bono work for the town, including that image. So,
Which one?
That one.
The one right there? Oh.
yeah.
Come
So,
with demonstratives.
so I think history is essential for the character of the town, and that we need to preserve the resources of the past to move forward. Susan, any additions?
Yes, thank you. Just introduce myself. I've
Have a
been
seat.
here About 150 years in town. I feel like I know some of these.
Please have a seat. Go ahead.
Some of these ancients who have been dead for 100 years very well. But I have been working closely with Mary Ellen. I think what's going to be very important in the future is to do a combination of archives and records management. You all are probably well aware of the fact that this place is flooded with paper. Mm-hmm. What we've got to do is get control over it. I was a records management consultant for most of my career, as well as an archivist. And I pretty much know where all the bones are in this building, and where all the records are. And I'd like to help Mary Ellen, and Nancy and I want to do this in the future. We also want to be here as Ellen retires,
Yep.
so that we can continue with the corporate history, in effect, to make sure that it continues.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Ms. Schrock?
I have no questions, but I did over the weekend come across some of the archive photos online, and they are incredibly easily searchable, and it kind of was a fun dive into pictures from 1967 when Morocco School opened. So it's great to know that we have that.
All right. I have my undergrad in history, so you never have to convince me about the value of history and maintaining it. So I appreciate your interest, and you know what you're getting yourself into, which not every volunteer does. So I'll give you that.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Clear eyes.
Yes. So, thank you. We will. I think we will take up the next candidate, Ms. Schrock. So if you want to go back into the audience, then we'll make all of these appointments as a slate, I believe, or one of the. And so if Christiane Romero. Yes.
She actually notified me this afternoon that she's actually stuck up in Vermont, so I'd like to move her to the 29th.
Okay, so Christiane will be at a later date.
Yes.
Okay, so then we can take the reappointment and then the new appointment then for archives. Great. Thank you, Patty.
Move that we reappoint Samuel Smallage to the Archives Advisory Committee for the term to expire March 31st, 2028.
All those in favor?
Is this his second term now, or I don't think it was clear on his resume?
On whose?
Mr.
Samuel
Smallage,
Smallage.
he's being reappointed. Is this his?
Oh, yeah, sorry, this is his second
Okay,
term.
that's great.
Okay, I think we had all those in favor, right?
Yes.
Called that one? Okay, great.
Move that we appoint Nancy Schrock to the Archives Advisory Committee for the term to expire March 31st, 2027.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Welcome back. Thank you. Thanks for doing so.
I haven't really left. I've been in the basement.
You've been in the basement. That doesn't sound good without the context.
Lower left.
Please leave, Okay. Turn the lights off when you go, Nancy. Okay. Next up, we have 2 interviews for the Climate Action Committee and some reappointments, but the first interview is William Denman, if he's here,
So, sorry, did we need to reappoint the third person? Or are we
for
gonna delay?
archives?
Yeah.
No, Christiana needs to be interviewed, so she's going to come in
I see.
October.
Sorry.
Yeah, so come on up, Mr. Denman. So I think and whoever the next people are, say who you are, why you're interested, maybe a little bit about yourself, and we have your application, so thank you for
Thank
applying.
you for having me. William Denman, everyone calls me Pepper. I've lived in town 35 years. I live on Main Street. It's the pink house with the flowers outside the drive and utility verge. I plant flowers, and I keep bees. And I have an application for climate and climate change and resilience. I invented and designed a rainwater system that I collect all my rainwater. I bury the tanks in the garden, and I have a drip irrigation system that I recycle all my water. I'm also on the board of the just for clarity, I'm on the board of the Mystic River Watershed Association, which many of you know. We built the fish ladders and do the herring counting and have managed. We work with, I think is it 38 municipalities, something like that? I think you're in the river watershed.
I don't have that trivia answer for you. I'm going to take your answer. I don't have
It's
it.
about that number because, and so obviously I had this interest in climate action and climate change and resilience. I guess my passion would be that we figure out ways to focus on not only mitigation but some of the root causes and begin thinking about what we need to do to make the town, both our town and our entire ecosystem, resilient. In that I'm a physician by training, which is not really important to the climate. Except I don't use gases that hurt the climate.
Okay.
Any question?
Have you attended climate action meetings before?
I have not.
To know what you're getting yourself into?
No,
like
I'm one of the chaps you'll see walking on the street picking up litter. It's called plogging. I'm a plogger, and I do the fells every day. It's a full-time job cleaning the fells, let me tell you. And so people met me and reached out to me, so I don't actually know fully what I'm getting into.
That's not disqualifying, just curious?
No, exactly.
Just wanted to ask.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, as a follow-up to the plogging, I know Caroline, who is a current member of her reappointment now, has also been trying to spearhead some plogging.
So I plog every day,
activities.
and I do from my house to the Medford
Plug or
line
do
and back.
do plaque? I think that's.
Well, I have more plaque. You're right. Thank you. So it's a Scandinavian thing. It came out. David Sedaris got an OBE from the Queen for plogging in the UK.
We need a glossary for our meetings now?
That's right. But I'm hoping we can maybe. I don't know if we have an OBE yet in the Winchester level, but we could work on that. Yes. Yeah, you can't actually jog and pick it up. Thank you. Yes, if you think about it.
That's true.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you for stepping up. I think you're eminently qualified.
Any other questions?
I do want to talk to the person about plugging. I've tried to get, there's a Facebook plugging. I think we should, in Daniel, they chap up in the fells.
Yeah. Oh, it needs it. I was running up there yesterday. It needs it.
But no, he walked every street in this town and started plugging the entire town. Wonderful chap. Anyway,
Okay. Thank you.
I look
Don't leave the
forward to
room,
the
and
next
we'll go through the
plogging.
slate in a minute.
The first inaugural Winchester plugging
There it is.
on it.
Okay. It's going to be all the rage, I can tell. Okay. Next up, if Jared Richardson is here, come on up to the table.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for being here. If you tell us about yourself and your experience and why you want to join Climate Action.
Absolutely. I've lived in Winchester. I grew up in Winchester. I've lived here my whole life, aside from a brief stint as a STEM student in Rhode Island, where I studied political science and sustainability, specifically looking at both resilience and how we can communicate about the efforts that we're doing to everyday residents of our communities. And I actually had the opportunity to do a lot of that in undergrad, where a lot of my work was within residence life and residential organizing. And I heard about the Climate Action Advisory Committee from Ruth Markey, former chair. We spoke about some of the resilience efforts, and I've really excited to be able to work with Rick and with other members to push the 2020 Climate Action Plan forward. Professionally, I'm the Community Service Coordinator for Keep Massachusetts Beautiful, so I do like to keep the litter off the streets if we
Apparently, you need to
can.
plug.
Yes.
I don't know what that means, but I'm just going to throw it into my sentences now all
Picking
the
up
time.
littering while jogging. Stuff.
And it seems to be a hobby of all of us.
Yes,
And
some of us.
In addition to that, I also am a youth organizer with the Sunrise Movement, and I most recently was a campaign manager in New Hampshire. I worked with a number of kids who were actually former town officials. One of them was, say, former town planner. So I'm very familiar with some of the challenges that are associated with running a town and some of the climate and basic operations.
Okay, great. Any questions for Jared?
Because you are a young professional, coming
Just whatever.
not long after working on a couple campaigns here, especially for Young Democrats of America. Can you give us an example of how you can harness the youth of this town to get out and plug more and take the energy they have and just help get it organized to really put it to some good uses?
Friendly amendment maybe to also deal with the climate issues too, not just litter.
Well, I think fundamentally the most important thing is to ensure that we're partnering with the environmental club at Winchester High and certainly our faith-based organizations, many of them have youth groups, so it's important to reach out to them as well to know not only that we can have those cleanups as needed, but this is a very young town. There, with over 25% of our being students and young people like myself, I think there's multiple different approaches, not just through the clubs, but in partnership with the clerk's office and others, to have more direct outreach to those who are in transition and who may have even just recently graduated and come back home and who have lived in Winchester for many years with a different perspective than maybe a high schooler.
It's good that you already have some targets.
Okay. Any other questions? No? All right. If you could take your seat, we're going to go ahead and go through the climate action appointments.
Thank you.
Move that we reappoint Prasetti Kalabi to the Climate Action Advisory Committee for the term to expire August 31st, 2028.
All those in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
I just want to note here, Prasetti does some wonderful work. She's now going into her third term. I would plead upon her to maybe find somebody to take her place when she finishes this third term so we can share the experience on the Climate Action Advisory Committee. Maybe she can find a new role to take the position.
And our chair is here, so
Elsewhere
I think
now.
he heard your comment too.
She could be great on capital planning or something. Integrate.
Move that did we vote on that? Sorry.
We did.
Okay. Move that we reappoint Carolyn Stott Plogger to the Climate Action Advisory Committee for the term to expire August 31st, 2028.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Move that we appoint William Denman Plogger to the Climate Action Advisory Committee for the term to expire August 31st, 2028.
All those in favor?
Hi.
Move that we appoint Jared Richardson to the Climate Action Advisory Committee for the term to expire August 31st, 2027.
All those in favor?
Hi.
Okay. Tonight's meeting is brought to you by the word plug. In the year 1850, apparently. Okay, so we have 3 positions for the Disability Access Commission. All would be reappointed. So no one's to be interviewed this evening for Disability Access, but I think this is a town manager appointment, so we will recommend, but I will leave those motions to Anthea.
Move that we recommend to the town manager to reappoint Lisa Metrandola to the Disability Access Commission for the term to expire August 31st, 2028.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And I would just make the same comment on her as I made on Persetti, coming up in the third term. Good to find some transition opportunities for more people to get involved.
Do you want to have Patty include that in the note or something? Because unless she happens to watch this exact moment of the video, yeah.
Make a statement regarding that. With the Disability Access Commission, you have to have a disability to be on the commission. Or you have to have a child who is disabled to be on the commission. So it's a smaller pool of people to be
Who meet the
involved.
qualification?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
All right. Good point. Thanks, Patty.
Move that we recommend to the town manager to appoint Christine Rowan to the Disability Access Commission for the term to expire August 31st, 2028.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Move that we recommend to the town manager to appoint Consuelo O'Donnell Donahue to the Disability Access Commission for the term to expire August 31st, 2028.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So we'll communicate that to the town manager, and he can make those appointments. The acting town manager starts on Wednesday. Okay. So next up is PIRAC and OPEB update, and then, so I'd invite the comptroller to the table wherever she wishes to sit, just not behind me. That's all I ask.
And do we also have Stacy's report? There's questions.
And Stacy's report, yes. Thank you. And then before we jump into that comptroller's report, thank you, Anthea. I just wanted to note at the table and maybe for the group, so normally we would have the town manager's report. We did a couple of town manager appointments, but wanted to just highlight for everybody and those folks watching at home, Morocco School, there were a lot of work done over the summer at the Morocco Life Extension Project. So school started last week. I just wanted to highlight that the library was converted to a cafeteria, first time in the building's history, and it is a code-compliant serving sort of cafeteria now with wiring and plumbing. There's a new library where a wall came down between two classrooms, a lot of furniture is in better condition, and swapped out some furniture from the Parkhurst School to furnish the Morocco School. Teachers were excited to set up their first, their classrooms for the first day, and there's still some work to do on insulation in the kindergarten area and first grade, and still looking at some of the external engineering and the external condition of the building. But everything got painted. Some sinks are being manufactured actually in the mass prison system. So there's a prototype that's going to be delivered to see how it works, because these are very custom products. So I just wanted to say thank you to Pete Lawson and the team and the vendors. It was a massive coordination effort this summer, and it got done on time. And I haven't been in Morocco. I don't know if Anthea as a parent is, but a lot of changes in the way they're going to use the space, and having a dedicated cafeteria is certainly a win. They can now have PE all times of the day, not just outside lunchtime. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Jay and the team.
Yeah, it looks great. I got in there this afternoon very briefly. I also heard that it is now called the Gym Auditorium, because now they have space for a bunch of extra.
Gym
Auditorium, because now they have space for a bunch of extra letters. So
Can I
they're
say
really
a
stretching
word,
it out.
Michelle?
Of course.
Thank you.
I disagree.
So, this happened kind of early in my tenure on the board, and I think
Yeah, I'll say, like your first meeting.
First meeting, my colleagues, I think, were really active here. Mike, you sponsored the 2021 initiative to even secure the Capitol. Michelle, I know you spent a lot of time scheduling meetings on this, working with town management, and Anthea and Mike, I know both of you went on the tour and partnered with the school committee. So I just want to thank the three of you. I think the speed at which, a majority of the select board sitting to my right partnered with the school committee to make this happen is really terrific. And I really thank the three of you for that.
Thanks, Parsons. I will say this, was a group effort. And it's easy for us to say, go do this, but the fact that Andrew Marin and Pete Lawson and the team were able to do this in this amount of time, it seemed almost impossible when we first did the tour, right, Anthea, and looked around there. And so it's amazing, and and I've only seen pictures. I haven't been over there, but it's a very, very well done project, and I don't think we could have asked for more in a short period of time. It's excellent. So
Yeah.
so
Totally impressive, and it needed a call out. Beth was here from the beginning, and we had a really successful first week of school, first day of school, and just wanted to really highlight some of the details because it was a pretty it was beyond paint and some carpet. It was a ton of flooring, asbestos, abatement, and reconfiguring classrooms to really make a different flow and use of the building. So, to your point, Mike, I'm not sure it was a long list when we looked at it in May, and the fact that they got through almost all of it is impressive. So, thank you to them. And now we'll talk about the comptroller's report, and then we'll talk about PIRAC. So we have the comptroller's report in our packet.
Yes.
I don't know if anyone had any questions or want to highlight anything about.
Yeah, I'll just highlight, I'll go through a few things that are worthy of mentioning. First and foremost, page 1. The operating reserve calculation came out to 18%, and the projections that we used to pretty much estimate what this could be was about 16.8%. We had estimated $3.5 million of turnbacks and surplus revenue. It ended up being closer to 5.7, so that's good news. Some of the areas where motor vehicle excise came in almost $1 million over budget, which I don't know if that's a sign of things picking back up or if it was something that's just in the nature of, I think Paris, you mentioned some motor vehicle excise credits for electric vehicles.
Solar credits, I think you'll see, yeah, I think we'll see some additional.
Yeah.
Through the end of the calendar year, right? They expire.
Right. That's for sure. I think, sorry, Stacy and I had a phone conversation today, and we were talking about why motor vehicles tax came in so high, and it's because there was a pull forward of a lot of vehicle purchases ahead of the same
Expiring.
law.
Yeah.
Expiring at the end of this month, actually. So we were trying to debate whether it's a structural increase in motor vehicle.
we'll keep an eye
revenue
on
or
that.
not. I think we both agree it's probably not.
Yeah. I mean,
Our
it
last
tends to
quarter.
grow, obviously, the prices of cars increase, that sort of thing. But it dipped with COVID, and it's kind of recovering, but I don't think it's going to recover at this pace. It's kind of a lot.
Pretty
But,
remarkable.
So that was part of it. The interest income is still a lot higher than we estimated. We don't particularly ever estimate over $1 million of interest ever. So the past couple of years has really turned out well for us in that respect. So I just wanted to mention that we had estimated about a 16.8% operating reserve percentage as a percentage of total revenue. It ended up being a little bit higher because of that. And some of the areas for turnbacks, it's kind of a repeat message. The Public Works, the Fire Department, Police had some bigger turnbacks just due to vacancies and turnover, retirements and things like that. We have to budget for the positions. We want them filled, but in the event that they don't get filled, we do have some overtime and coverage that obviously it's not a perfect, these are the full savings. It's a net amount. So those are the big areas. And reserve fund, we didn't use all the $400,000, which is always good news. We had $293,000 left. Let's see. Some of the things I want to mention is when we do the tax recap in the fall, we have to look at what we've collected in FY25 to make sure that we have enough local receipts for FY26. And there's a couple of line items that we didn't really meet the budget. They're kind of small. As you can see in the report, the fees are a little bit under and the other departmental is a little bit under. But as long as we budgeted less than what we collected for FY26, we'll be okay. But there are a couple areas that we have to adjust when we do the recap. Not a lot of money. When we look at our 25 actuals, just as an example, we collected $273,000 in FY25 for penalties and interest, but we budgeted $275,000. So that $1,000 we have to find another home for in one of the other lines. That's not a concern. None of the lower amounts are a concern. I think fees is one of the areas. It's about $75,000, but we have enough in motor vehicle excise that we've collected that we can increase that budget to make up the difference. And that's sort of like the balancing act I do to do the recap, is make sure that we have enough revenue, new growth, make sure it all works. And the town doesn't actually, town meeting doesn't actually budget the revenues. They really budget the expenses, and we present a balanced budget. And I mean balanced, we just have funding sources for everything. Doesn't necessarily mean we have revenues that cover everything. So I just wanted to mention that. You'll see when we do the you have the July report, so the FY26 budgeted items in the local receipts will change by the time we finalize the recap in December. And we have a couple of items to note here with the unallocated wages. The DOR sort of caught on. We were holding those balances a little bit too long. So we have to close them every single year. I wasn't aware of that rule, but they told me, so we had to do it. So there's $257,000 that we returned that we didn't need to fund any settlements, but we were hoping to carry those forward and use for the FY 26, 27, 28 agreements. And $65,000. I went through the exercise of going through all these old funds on the books that hadn't had any activity for 3 years. I mean, 3 years isn't a very long time, but I started there. And there were a couple old FEMA funds that were sitting around on the books for over 25 years. So how FEMA works is that you spend the money, and then 4 years later, FEMA gives you the money. So we put that money in an account, never been touched, never been spent. So I pulled it back into the general fund, assuming that it was an expenditure that we had taken and incurred prior to getting the money. So that's $65,000. There's a whole list of other funds that I went through that still need some review and some, I guess, we might have to go to court to close some of these old gifts and things that have had no activity. Gifts, grants, there's usually a donor, a grantee, a grantor that has specific uses for these funds, and if we didn't need it, we have to take extra steps to close those things. So there's a whole bunch of funds that have, I think there's 20 or so grants totaling $66,000 that we need to research, 50 gifts and other that about $240,000 that we need to research, and 10 peer review funds, which we actually researched many of those and closed them. We have to return the money to the developer who paid. There were some I mentioned. There was some housing fund money that the select board used their select board housing fund to fund things that had leftovers. I sent that money back to the housing fund. It's little money, but it's something. So that was $676,000 of the estimated surplus, of this surplus revenue. Expenditures, there's really, spending as usual. I mentioned some of the turnbacks. I don't know if there's any questions so far about the general fund activity before moving on.
Turnbacks were 1.9.
Yeah, 1.8
1.8.
and change. Yeah. So yeah, 1.9.
We sort of are 1.2% roughly, pretty consistently. It seems like something like that. Yeah.
Yep. And I just highlight what we've been using free cash for. It goes for 3 years. If you ever need history, I keep this kind of a running history. If you ever want it. Reserve fund transfers is just a summary of reserve fund transfers that were made during the year. Not a lot of activity there. And then we get into the water and sewer enterprise funds. Oh, I should mention the DOR came back today and certified the free cash. I think you were all on the email at $22.3 million. It's
$1 million difference in the DOR figure and our figure is that's the difference between free cash and operating reserves.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, the undesignated fund balance,
Undesignated
that's where they
is bigger.
start, and then they reduce it for certain things.
Yeah.
And I think they include the calculation so you can see what they reduced it by. Retained earnings were certified. Yep. And then, let's see, water, sewer, recreation. Water and sewer last year, the retained earnings was about $700,000. It's taken a nice swing. We've had a good year. It's very volatile with the water usage, as you can see. Recreation when you look at their total revenues, it's quite high, the 46%. So I know they're going to be using some of that for capital, I believe. But yeah, they had a good year, both funds. Not much else to really say other than keep on keeping on. Keep on the good work. There was one thing I did I don't know if it starred on your reports, but I just wanted to mention we had a debt, a band pay down that wasn't budgeted, but the debt is part of the expense budget, so it's not going to impact anything. We didn't overspend an appropriation or anything. And then, let's see, water, sewer, I include these revolving funds. These are the revolving funds that that town meeting sets a spending cap. And they're different than the revolving funds that are allowed by Mass General Law, whether you accept them or the statutory. So these are the ones that we call out town meeting, and the spending caps are listed. You can increase the spending caps via a vote of the Select Board and the Finance Committee during the year if something comes up. So I just wanted to mention that. And then we have our stabilization funds. The health insurance stabilization fund shows at June 30th, $388,000, but we did make a transfer out of $379 on July 1st. So that'll be down to, whatever, $7,000, I think it is.
To $7,000.
Yes.
With the fall town meeting warrant article
Yeah,
to put
to
some back,
put
but
some
not
back.
Oh, yeah.
300,000.
What? Oh, another, $70,000 maybe, hopefully?
Correct.
And then just the history of OPEB a couple years back, like how we're doing, how things are looking. We didn't have a transfer at the Springtown meeting. Hopefully we'll have one at the fall. And then ARPA, I figured I'd been giving a lot of details with the ARPA projects, probably too much information every single month, so I kind of condensed it with what's open and what's closed. And we have until December of '26 to spend it all, but I communicate with the owners of these projects regularly to make sure that they're on track and that they're aware of some, the $88 that we had to pay. I wanted to make sure we paid that.
Yes.
It's encumbered. It could very well be that we have some straggler money that we'll have to pay back, but hopefully not. Just with the things costing less than what we anticipated and what we encumbered. I'm trying not to do that, but it might be inevitable. So that's FY '26 in a nutshell. Up to '25, geez, rushing.
a lot going
Any
on.
questions? Right, '26 in just July was given, I try to give you a monthly budget to actual. There's not a lot to say, other than things are looking on track for '26. That's it for that.
Any questions? There's a lot of detail there. Thank you, Stacy.
Welcome.
So comment for the
Some good
board.
news. Yeah, please.
So we, Stacey and I talked today, we've started to take another sort of look at the state of the town model.
Yeah.
Because we did come in a little favorable here. So we were starting free cash position was 22.8. I think that might be up to $500,000 higher. And then we'll also take a look at vetting. I hope we come in 3.9 million higher in revenue every year. It would
Not
make our
gonna
lives
happen.
a lot easier. Not happening? Okay. I thought you might tell me that. Okay, so it's not happening. Of course, it's not happening. But we are going to take a look at a couple of the categories and really look at our assumption and reflect that through. But I mean, candidly, it is modest positive news, and
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
take that. So
We'll take it.
Take any good news we can. Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. And was there anything, so if we pivot then to PERAC, and I know you were here last meeting on sort of the pension obligation. Is there any action or recommendation you need from the board tonight on the
I think the
pension?
retirement board is just looking for a feel for where the board is at with funding. I think let me just find the alternatives. Well, number one, they're going to put an article on the fall town meeting warrant to increase the COLA base. But as far as, that hasn't happened yet, so we can't really put that into effect in the funding table. So I don't know if the board supports that. I don't think that you need to make a full-on recommendation here, but it would be something at fall town meeting to either support or not support. But
Okay.
but as far as the funding tables, that without the COLA increase, there were three options, and there was an option to keep it at 5%, so that, let's see, we have a growth of 5% from 26 to 27, and then a very small amount to pay in 28, versus paying it all in 27, which is a little bit higher than a 5%. It's like a 6% increase. So that's sort of, I think the retirement, I don't know what the rest of the retirement board, if they care to carry the 80 grand into FY '28. I don't know if it matters that much to them. It's a difference, like I said, of $80,000. So do we want to just pump it out, get it done in 27? What do you want to just kind of?
yes.
Okay. That's my personal preference. That's what I'll recommend to the retirement board, but I'm one vote. It's just a matter of like, let's get it done and say it's done and then work on OPEB. Obviously, considering both as one liability and splitting the difference, obviously focusing on
I think
pension
there's
first.
an important psychological threshold to achieve 100% financed.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, that's nothing to worry about.
yeah, for now.
Does anybody, does anybody not agree with Stacy's suggestion that we go to 6% and pay it off in FY '27 as we've been kind of calendaring it?
All right.
I think that's some pretty clear
Okay,
guidance
great.
then.
I will be going to FinCom tomorrow night to get their feedback. It's usually, town management, select board, FinCom, and I go back to the retirement board with what everybody says and talks about, so I'll do
Okay.
that. And the COLA, there's obviously funding tables associated with COLA. It does add some money, but that we can talk about that at the fall town meeting and how it impacts the tables.
Okay,
So we'll talk about that when we vote the warrant.
right. Well,
Yeah.
when we
If we're-
see the
Yeah.
language, actually,
Because
yeah.
you're assuming retirement board's putting the article forward, but they haven't
Yes.
voted on it yet.
No, we're voting in September, yeah.
Correct.
Well, actually, that's not
Well, the
true.
warrant closes
We
on the
voted
19th.
it that I would submit the warrant article on behalf of the retirement board, just the language that matched what we did last time. So yes, we did vote to put it on
Right.
at the fall town meeting.
So we'll see that when it comes out through the motion, and we'll take recommendations on all the articles, and I would imagine that one
Yeah.
as well.
Yep.
It has a financial implication, but we don't have it yet to
Yeah, and we'll
review.
go through with all the COLA, like where everybody's at. This will be like for town meeting prep, where everybody's at, how it impacts the table, that sort of thing.
Okay,
All right.
thanks, Stacy.
I'll
Don't
go-
leave.
I'll go back.
Yes, thank you. The next topic before we get an update from the farm is any select board committee updates. So not fall town meeting, but any state of the town updates or other committee updates. I know audit's happening, so audit advisory will be going, but maybe Paris, if you want to start with state of the town, or
Yeah,
anything about
I can start with the easiest one possible if you prefer.
I always appreciate
Okay.
that.
Climate Action has a logo. Is that your
That
table?
we're going to take up as other business.
Oh, okay.
At the
Got
end,
it.
we're
I
going to
thought that
vote
was a
that.
committee. All right.
Well, it is, so, but we are going to take it up, I think,
Got it. Okay.
as a
good.
motion.
So Select Board Committee, State of the Town, there's basically three things to talk about. One, I'm just a little behind in getting the OPEB trust management memo to all of you, or Select Board Policy 7 draft to all of you. I think are we officially good on Select Board Policy 3? It was in the packet last time. We talked about it 2 meetings ago. I just want to make sure everyone saw it. So are we good to, we had
was-
moved the bottom of the range
6 to 10 to go to 7% to 8%
Yep.
in terms of retained
6 goes to 8 to 10.
to 10.
Yeah, I had to leave before we had that discussion, but I was in favor of it. It
Okay.
seems like a well-graduated approach to
Okay.
raising those numbers.
So we'll just move forward with that then, and if people want to send comments on the text. The other one is the OPEB trust, which I'll bring next time. I just didn't have time to draft it. But this is what we talked about last time of having the commissioners of the funds help the treasurer select a outsourced manager to manage the OPEB trust, which, as Stacy just showed in her report, is north of $8 million. And I did meet with the incoming commissioner of the chair of the commissioners, and he was very positive on it. The one I wanted to mention, and it was in the State of the Town packet last week, is on debt management. And I appreciate this is more for Mike and Bill, because I think Anthea and Michelle were there at the table. I can go through it if you guys want, or I can just cut to the punchline, which was that for debt, moving to a soft presumption, we can look at it both ways, in all cases, of going to level principal payment in the case of large exclusions over $5 million, and then sticking with level debt service for everything else. Candidly, there's only one large debt exclusion likely before us in the near term, which is Morocco. But if you look at the numbers at about a 4.5% discount rate, which is where roughly where our bonds trade, if we had done Lynch as a level principal approach for $74 million, we would have saved over the life of it about $1 million, NPV of about $1 million. So it's a pretty technical piece, but just something we thought was important. There's a packet in the.
This was, if I recall the memo, the basic idea is pay more upfront so you pay less in the long run.
Correct.
Yeah.
And when does it make sense?
And
to do
retire debt more quickly, or at least reduce your debt payment more quickly, which in theory can throw more debt
More
service into
capacity.
new projects.
Yeah, so
So-
we have the bandwidth. It seems smart.
Yeah, I mean, the the town has the bandwidth and the town pays either way. It's just a question of we're loading a little bit earlier on the levy. So again, the real opportunity for it would be Morocco, which is the next one. And then the last one, and Michelle, this can go now or it can go in the fall town meeting articles. There's a bunch of tweaks and technical changes, but also income limit increases, which are quite low on the senior programs. And there's literally like 5 of them. And then there's, in addition to that, the HEROES Act, which are the veteran programs. So on this one, what I spoke to the chair of the Council of Aging today. They're gonna. We had done a lot of research on it, and we've sort of handed off to her, and her committee are gonna kind of finish all the work on what recommendations they're gonna make, and then they would seek our joint sponsorship on those articles. And I think they could meet us at our next meeting.
Okay, so the HEROES Act is in our packet
HEROES Act is
for
separate,
fall town meeting, but if there's a new article, it certainly needs to get to us by mid-next week, because the warrant closes on the 19th.
Yeah.
If there's anything new that comes out that requires an article, that's just a heads up for you and the council.
So what would that? So we probably could give it as soon as this week, which is the changes to 47. It's 47F, 47D, and then there's 23. There's a bunch of MGL provisions.
What I would recommend then is for Jennifer and the council to work directly with Mark to draft that language.
Okay, all right. I will set that up.
And it can be one article with multiple motions if it's all kind of tied toward a general overall goal. The motions, though, need to be distinct around which Mass General Law or which sort of floor you're raising.
Yeah, okay.
So I would just ask them to reach out to Mark.
Yeah, and these are basically senior circuit breaker adjustments to the program that allows you to defer your tax liability, a program that benefits widows, widowers, or people who lose their parents, the widows, widowers over the age of 70 and a half. It's very common programs that most of our peer towns have. Some we would accept, some we would change the income limit on.
Okay. All right.
That is all.
Thanks.
Sorry, I got to run.
I know you're going to run.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay. And so, Paras, if you could just make sure, we'll come back around to fall time meeting, but make sure that gets communicated so that we don't miss the window.
Yeah.
You could also submit something to Mark and copy Anthony and myself, but if it's going to be under Council on Aging or if it wants sponsorship from us, we just need to make sure it comes back before we finalize the articles with our names on it. Which
And I
we'll
believe
do
they're
mid-next
meeting
week.
this week, and
Okay.
there's just a little bit of additional research we need to do on getting them all lined up. Okay, and then beyond, so that really closes out a lot of the sort of financial planning oriented things. The items beyond that, which I think we can address, on the 19th or the meeting the 29th or the meeting after that, are the residential exemption. Then we can even start to talk about some of the other things.
Yep.
Capital or whatever else comes through state of the town by then.
Agreed. Okay, and to the extent that we talk about fees, fines, other things that Select Board controls, we can talk about that in the course of several meetings, but we can do a table. Okay, that's state of the town. Any other update? Bill, want to share from other committees? Cable? You can wait on Capital since Capital's going to be here.
Cicada of committees.
I know.
We won't be back for
Anything
10
else?
years or so.
18
you
years,
know.
right?
Oh, we'll certainly talk about capital planning in a little bit with
Yes.
fall town meeting. Okay. Anthea, Fields?
No, nothing to add right now.
Fair enough. All right. So next up then, we're going to ask Erica from Right Lock Farm. Looks like Jess, if you want. Jess, you can come on up if you'd like.
We have a whole team here. Yeah.
I mean, whoever wants to. Hi, Joan.
Love you.
Come on up.
Erica.
Dave, right. I was wondering why some of you folks were here, but now I get it.
Yeah. Oh, phone call.
No, it's just two-factor authentication. It's just, we call ourselves.
There you go.
So once you're all seated, I will ask you all to introduce yourselves. I don't know if everyone's met Paras, our newest member, but
Hi. Nice to meet you.
so you can read who we are. Our names are in front of us.
Yeah, I'll just.
And Erica, are you driving the presentation? So,
Thank you. Just
Yeah, you can do that.
that way?
Yeah.
Great.
and we'll start, let's start with Joan, and we'll just go right across.
Joan Grensbeck. I'm a board member of the farm for the past 3 years. Jessica Zander, treasurer. Thanks for having us.
Andrew Eskol, a newer board member as of December.
Erica Gorgani, Executive Director, 2 years in.
David Anderson, I've been on the board for 2 years.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us. It's good
And
to
we
see
were
you
a
all.
little bit behind schedule and not as bad as we can be, so thanks for your patience.
No problem. Yeah, and this is really just pretty pictures, say hello, talk about what we've been up to, and the goal is to really just keep the lines of communication open, especially as we went through a big transition with my taking this role 2 years ago. And so we're really wanting to get into good practice of just keeping in touch with the town and keeping the lines of communication open. So this evening, I just thought I would highlight, kind of give some backstory, which a lot of you are familiar with, but just kind of bringing you up to speed, really focusing on the leased portion of Right Lock Farm that we leased from the town. That's 7.5 acres, and the historic buildings. So I'm going to just try to keep this quick and moving along, but please do feel free to stop me if you have any questions. Just sharing the growth over the last several years and really wanting to highlight how we're stewarding that land and those buildings and preserving and caring for both the land and buildings, how we're thinking forward and how we're engaging the community and really building partnerships. So yeah. Whoops, wrong one. So our lease started in 2011, and in that time we have replaced the roofs on both of the historic barns. We painted the building several times as needed through the years. We've made the farmhouse more energy efficient. We included insulation, installed mini splits. We're actually still working on the house with moisture mitigation and a few other projects that David has been a huge help with. Looking at replacing the windows there soon as well. We did replace the windows in the squash house. We installed a $150,000 sprinkler system to the 1827 barn because it was just, it's a treasure that we cannot lose, and we've seen so many barn fires in years past in the area. So we wanted to make sure that that doesn't happen to our beautiful barn. We've improved the accessibility to the 1827 barn. Please excuse that typo. That is supposed to say handrails and a ramp so that it's accessible. And we've made several other property enhancements. Again, this is strictly on the 7.5 acres with the solar panels, education gardens, soil amendments. We've partnered with the town to do the fast forest, which is that picture on the bottom right. Keep getting and maintaining the organic certification, some trail maintenance and signage, and these are kind of ongoing projects. So yeah, you can see, and some of the photos, the bottom left is some of the farmhouse work that's been done. Actually, the next picture is on the land trust land, but we've built some retaining walls and enhanced the property there. And then you can see the historic barns and the fast forest. So, yeah, and all of this I would also just say is in addition to, obviously we've built and developed an established farm, so growing fields, greenhouses, animal enclosures, things like that. If we step back and look at the organization as a whole, we are maintaining a total of 20 acres, so the organization is managing all of that land, and as you know, we've built a new building in 2021, the All Seasons Barn, that has been really a huge benefit to our organization and being able to operate year-round. Just quickly looking at our community engagement efforts. Again, most of you probably know a lot of what we do, but it's really exciting. Last year we had 150 active volunteers, and this year our new volunteer coordinator is encouraging us to beef up our volunteer management system because now we have 200 and it's just growing. And so these are people that are regularly wanting to come back and be engaged in the farm in some capacity. And we have many different opportunities for that. Our local food access has been really taking off. I do want to mention how grateful we are for the ARPA grant that we received from the town to be able to get a new electric van, which has saved us this year. It's been really helpful to bring to the markets. But we have seen an increase in SNAP participation. We support the Enka Food Pantry and other food initiatives as well. And we have been partnering with the town's Garden for Good program. We have education is really at the heart of all that we do. So we have our Forest Friends licensed preschool. We've added a kindergarten. It's been very popular and going really well. Extensive youth and adult programs, senior programming, baby programs, you name it, we've got it. And we make these programs as accessible as we can through tiered pricing and scholarship. And we've had a robust internship program that's been growing. This year alone, we had 14 Winchester high school students work with us this spring. It was incredible. I think our venue had the largest number of high school students come for their internship, which was fun. And we've got 14 in the summer from various colleges in the area. So really engaging the local college and high school students. It's important to us to offer free events for the community. So we do our family farm nights, and we're starting to try to do more free events and other concerts. We make our place available for nonprofits, and we've got the Winchester Public Schools coming for meetings regularly. We offer discounts for and nonprofit rates for these organizations. And then lastly, we do have a robust senior program, so offering senior tea times, cooking classes, and things like that. So again, this is just a quick overview of all the many things that we've been working on as an organization and really working to give back to the community and keep the community engaged. And I guess I'll just lastly share our community partnerships. This has been something that we've been really working to build in the last couple of years. So these are just some of the local partnerships that we've created with the bank and Enka, Mount Vernon House, Gardens for Good, Sustainable Winchester, the Fast Forest, the Community Music School, the public schools, the public library, the farmers market, and Studio on the Common. And Network for Social Justice should be on here, and that's missing. But yes, so we work with lots of local organizations, and we see that as being key to just the success of not only the farm but the community as a whole. Is when we work together in our efforts, we'll have the best results. So yeah, just an overview. This is, I mean, you got to look at the goat for a while I finish up. But you know, we've done all of these things. There's a lot going on at the farm. There's a lot going on. And we've done all these things while really working hard to be fiscally responsible. I think early on in the farm organization's years, when we took on being the caretakers of the town's land and the historic buildings, I think we're kind of learning that we maybe underestimated the ongoing costs of that. And that just, you know, the costs are constantly increasing. And so to run an organization doing all the things that we do and being able to pay our folks a living wage and to take care of all of the operations and the buildings, it's a heavy lift. It's definitely a heavy lift. And we have done a good job of generating revenue, but we're hitting lots of limits. And so when I stepped into this role, you know, I made a concerted effort to shift to looking at more fundraising because we have to, because that's what has to be done to cover all these costs, because it's part of our mission to take care of this property and to offer these programs. So that's what we've done, and we're working on it. And so that's basically it. We have no asks tonight. We just wanted to share, and we wanted to open things up. We have a few things on the horizon. We are looking to try to get solar panels on our newest building. We are looking to try to improve the trail maintenance in the woods and better signage out there. Possibly an outdoor classroom because our education programs have expanded so much. But yeah, things like that on the horizon. But I would love to give the opportunity for my colleagues here, board members, to say a few words just about their personal investment in the farm. And I also would welcome any questions that you have. But thank you for your time.
Okay.
Well, I've been just blown away by what Erica and the people at the farm have done. They are the most positive people in the world, and they just work so hard, and they care so much about the farm, and I think the board does too. That's part of the reason we're involved. I remember when I'm the oldest person on the board, so I remember when we went raspberry picking down there at the farm, and then I've been on town meetings, so I've seen the development of getting the farm and how that took quite a while. And then the first people that started the farm, they did all the work themselves. The windows in the squash house were done by people that were on the board. It was unbelievable, and people are still at 200 volunteers. That's amazing. Mm-hmm. The other thing that Erica didn't mention, and I'm curious to know, do you have any, how far do people, for these events, I was at the family farm night, and there were over 500 people at the one that had good weather. Mm-hmm. and I know that people come from way far away, and I don't know if you have any information about how, I couldn't remember how far away they come from to come to the events.
Events like that, it's largely Winchester families, which is great, and then we do reach like Medford, Arlington, Lexington, Melrose, Cambridge, Somerville, Woburn, Burlington, just kind of it's great.
It's just amazing, the numbers and everything else, and the programs that I've been to have been phenomenal.
Thanks.
I think it's the best thing in town.
Thank you, Joan.
Yeah, I'll just jump on what Joan was saying. As the treasurer, I'm especially interested in how the funds are utilized and the sort of effectiveness and efficiency of that. And the budget's about 1.8 million, and what they're able to do. What'd you say? 1.2. Oh, 1.2. Excuse me. But what the organization is able to do with that small amount of money is pretty incredible. And everyone is just rowing in the same direction in terms of hard work and commitment. And it's really a pleasure to see that and to be a part of it. And just, again, to echo what Erica is saying, just about the need for fundraising as a key component of what the organization is doing has really emerged over the last couple of years, and I think the team is really doing an amazing job. That's one area where they're managing to do that out of very, very few resources. There's no sole person dedicated to that role, but everyone pitches in. So anyway, it's amazing what everyone is able to do with so little, and it's a tremendous asset. I think one of the biggest challenges that we have as an organization is awareness by people in town that it's there and that it's an asset for everybody to use and come see. So anyway, those are some of the things we think about.
So I've lived in Winchester since 1988 and raised 3 kids here, and been peripherally involved with the farm, but not full on until I partially retired in December. And as a board member and active volunteer, I've really come to not just my bias is the health benefits of the farm, and that's part of what led me to join in. But I think they're myriad, both the green space and all the educational programs and the kitchen itself. But I've been super impressed, having met everybody, with the intelligence, dedication, and really accomplished group, both the leadership and all the staff. There's a great esprit de corps there, and it makes you really want to dig in and get your hands dirty, which I'm happy to be involved. I think as a Winchester resident, I realize what a huge asset it is to the town. Both, the realtors are all using it as a selling point, and I think this generation is going to even be more involved. Hopefully, we're going to see to that.
So when I was asked to be on the board, because of my background in architecture and and campus planning, I was asked if I would like to be on the Building and Grounds Committee, and of course quickly discovered I am the Building and Grounds Committee. I rule with an iron fist. But I look at the farm as a great opportunity in Winchester to have something we can look toward the future and sort of steward the buildings and the grounds that we have and develop as the farm as an institution grows. But it also has this context of the past, of a very long past, going back to 1638, which is sort of forms an armature and sort of an inspiration as we go forward. So I love that opportunity to have a place which is really forward-looking, but is really respectful of the past and sort of bringing that forward to the town and beyond. It's a great asset to the region and not just the town.
And you can see how lucky I am to have such skilled and dedicated board members as well, so.
And David,
really
you've
great.
learned that the handier you are, the more work you get.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
future board members should just say you're terrible with tools. Otherwise, you'll be like, doing electrical work or painting things, but.
No one will let me do electrical work, which
Okay.
is smart.
You let Doug Marmon do it. I'm not sure what that was about, but hey. All right.
But yeah, if you have any other questions or, always feel free to reach out to me. I hope
This is a question for Patty. Do we have a reappointment coming up for the farm in October, maybe?
It's in December, and
December.
I had,
It's Dave Judelson, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
yeah, I
So-
put that information too.
That's right, yep.
The select board appoints 3 seats, and they don't always turn over every year, but, so we'll have one later this year.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
We'll take our cues from you if he wishes to be reappointed, and you'll let us know if not.
Sure.
Okay.
Right.
Paris, do you have a question?
Given the nature of the farm, it obviously does so much education, natural space, and green oriented items, community involvement. I was glad to see you submit a CPA application this cycle. Hope you're successful. It's just speaking as one board member. If it would be helpful for you to have us work with you on something in the future, as an individual, at least I would extend that branch to you, and potentially other board members would want the select board to get behind it too, because I think a lot of your programs really hit multiple categories, serve very large numbers of people, and that is what we're looking for when we think about what CPA applications to potentially support.
That's great, thank you so much. Thank you.
On that same theme, every time I learn more about the farm or go to the farm, I'm thrilled at how much it offers and embarrassed at how little I take advantage of it. It was a joy last year around this time to give you guys the ARPA community grant for that electric van. Maybe you could use it to drag me out of my office and get up to the farm more. Yes, but really, like, anything that we can do to help grow the farm and make it part of the community and part of the town, please, make us work. Hopefully, the next time you come to us, that second to last slide, maybe you'll have this logo up there as well as the proposed logo for our Climate Action Advisory Committee that we'll be talking about later.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that there's some great synergies that can be brought between them and you guys as well, and many other departments and initiatives and volunteers across this town. So
I have to be a plogger?
you don't have to be,
Not a
Apparently.
requirement.
but it helps.
The Fast Forest is a great example of that.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, thank you. I know I spoke with Mike briefly last year. And I don't know where we're at with like a community, like a Winchester community van that goes around.
We're
right?
not
We're not
anywhere in that
make
one.
stops, but if that ever were to happen, having a stop at the farm would be perfect because, yeah, we're there, but we're a little bit removed, so, yeah.
Makes sense.
Anthony, any questions?
No questions. I used to pick raspberries there when I was like a child.
Wow.
Years ago, under the much older ownership.
Mike would say it more than that we bought, actually.
I don't think we did.
Yeah.
Work out a little bad.
Thank you all for coming.
you
I know
so much.
Erica reached out back. I mean, I feel like we had this conversation in January,
Yeah.
right, to get before the board. So I'm glad this worked out this evening. And thank you for all the board members for being here and keep up the good
Thanks
work.
for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having
Get a
us.
good legacy to continue.
It's good to,
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Joan. Right, it's where I moonlight when I'm not here. I got a right lock. All right, so next up is fall town meeting articles. If it's okay with the board, I'd like to invite, I want to take Everett Ave out of order to give Roger and Brian and Matt a chance to give us some updates on that, and then we can move on to other business. Does that work? I'm not sure if anybody else is here for any other article, but I know they were specifically, I asked them to come this evening. So one thing that we have in our packet, we have maps. I don't know, Patty, we might want to pull up, I don't know if we want to pull up the maps perhaps, of where there might need to be some temporary and permanent easements. I also asked Matt, spoke with him this afternoon and asked him to give us an update of generally, what's the condition of the culvert in terms of, urgency, and then also a project like this, what would it take in terms of duration? So, I think it's not the Shore Road Bridge. A bridge is not a culvert, but I think we thought we were going to be able to do certain things and keep traffic open, and we learned that changes. So just generally, what might that disruption look like and what season? So I'd ask Matt to at least get those two questions sort of out of the way, and then I think it's whatever presentation you want to give, and then certainly Roger and Brian to weigh in on capital planning, what you're hoping to do. But I'm going to let Matt start if that's okay with you all.
I just snapped some photos of the above the bridge portion of the work, so it's not inside the culvert, but if there are questions regarding the easements, the visuals are usually helpful. So in June of 2023, the town did an inspection of this culvert. The culvert is fairly old. We don't even have plans on it. It's that old. It's a stone culvert with a granite slab top.
When you say fairly, it's over 100 years old, isn't it?
I'm sure it's well over 100 years old.
Yeah, don't sell it short how old it is.
I don't know how old it is.
It's
You're
so
trying
old.
to
Yes.
justify a repair.
Yes.
Give us the gory details.
It's so
please,
old we don't know how old it is. We don't have plans on file for it. To my knowledge, it really hadn't been inspected previously, or at least between the former town engineer and probably the town engineer before that time and the present. They did find a number of deficiencies related to some of the stonework needing to be repointed and regrouted. One of the wing walls on the northern side, which is the side that the plan is up. I actually didn't take a copy of the photos for myself. Is it possible for? Sorry. So it'd be easier just to explain. So again, you can't see the underneath the culvert, but so there's elements of the wing wall, which is kind of the side of the culvert underneath, that is in disrepair, needs to get basically repaired, reconstructed. The railing, as you can see on the north side on the top photo, is pretty substandard, and that's important for protecting both pedestrians, but also in case of a vehicular crash. And then on the south side as well, you can see, it's a little difficult to see, but you can see that the wall is sort of tilted and turning over.
South is down.
South is the downstream, yeah, sorry. South is on the downstream, it's the lower photo. So I believe that the select board had funded a design of the repairs, I think sometime around last fall. So we've been working on that. As we began to kind of detail design and survey, we found that the right-of-way line, so the town's property line, essentially lines up with the back of the sidewalk on the photos, but that the culvert itself actually extends a little bit further. So like on the bottom picture, the stone wall is actually connected to the culvert and part of the culvert, but it's on private property. And there's a similar situation on the north side, which is kind of why we're having this conversation about easements. So to get back to the original questions, when they did the inspection about 2 years ago, they did recommend having a repair done within 2 to 3 years. So we are in that time frame. They didn't find anything immediately, like close the bridge, close the culvert down, but they did recommend that 2 to 3 year time frame, with the thought of extending the useful life of the culvert to bring it into a state of good repair. Acknowledging that it is a very old culvert and at some point will need to get replaced, but the town needs to have a capital plan and it needs to fit into a long-term capital plan. So the idea is to do repairs to bring it into a better state of repair, extend the life, and then at some point plan on replacing the culvert. We are expecting around a 3-month construction period. The easements will be for longer than 3 months because once I obtain the easements, I still have to do environmental permitting. I have to get the plans out. We know how contractors are, and if there are any restoration at the end of the term, I wanted to make sure I had enough time. But that would be for the temporary easements, would have a duration of 2 years. So most of the work is actually on this, on those walls or on the sides of the culvert. There really isn't any work in the street. So we're not like Shore Road. We basically dug up the deck and we're redoing the deck. It's not really a deck, but there's basically the slab. The top of the culvert is in okay condition. We're not expecting to have to dig into the street. The work would be digging along the sides. So on the upper photo where that railing is, they have to dig up the sidewalk and along the sides, the walls of the culvert to do the repairs there and install a new railing. Similarly, on the south side, I'm not sure that they'd necessarily be excavating, but they have to basically take the wall down and build it back up. So in terms of like traffic impacts, most likely we're just talking about alternating traffic maybe during the day, because the contractor's going to have maybe an excavator, maybe some trucks, similar equipment to what we see on Shore Road. But they're not going to be digging in the street where they have to really have a closure. So at the end of the day, we'd expect them to be able to open traffic up to 2 lanes. So we'd work with police details and a traffic management plan to facilitate the traffic control. And obviously, since we are working on sidewalks, there'd be pedestrian detours during the time that we have, or I should say sidewalk closures leading to pedestrian detours during the duration that we're working on the sidewalks. There is a crosswalk, obviously at the traffic signal at Cambridge Street, and then the next street up, whose name is evading me right now, yes, there's a crosswalk there. So it's a relatively easy pedestrian detour. I guess if you have any further questions or if I missed some stuff.
So the easements would be on either side of the culvert, obviously. And the need for the permanent easement is just because permanent until the full culvert is repaired, or permanent just to be able to get, an assessment of the culvert at a given time? Why the need for the permanent?
So the permanent easement would allow us access for any kind of maintenance that we need to do, inspection at any time in the future. Potentially, when we do the culvert over, we could reevaluate the need for a permanent easement. We probably will still need an easement for access, but that's the purpose of the permanent easements, and those extend about 5 feet from the back of the sidewalk, so it's like 5 feet into people's property. And actually, it wasn't really intentional when I took the photos, but these photos actually kind of span. Not the entire photo, but you can kind of see where the permanent easement areas are. I'll start with the lower photo. It's a little bit easier, but basically between 2 driveways, it's not really technically a driveway, but the boat club has an access. You can kind of see the gate in the front of the picture to that driveway in the back is the next abutter. So that's sort of the limits of where the permanent easement is. And then on the north side, it's fairly similar. I think it extends This is the house in the photo is the house closest to Cambridge Street, so it's a little bit off of where that railing ends now, and extends, I think, maybe 5 to 10 feet on the other side where those trees are. So, and then 5 feet back.
So it would have 4 houses.
Yeah, the boat club, so 4 properties. And then the temporary easements would be another 5 feet beyond that. So, between the temporary and the permanent, it's 10 feet total. Another thing I didn't mention is most likely the work within the culvert underneath is not going to be with heavy equipment. So they're going to be, and it's actually very similar to Shore Road. They've basically been taking buckets in and out, or they may have equipment that overhangs and then, extends into. So these easements, although we need some driveway access for people to walk in and out, there shouldn't be any heavy equipment going on these easements, or for the temporary easements and the permanent easements for that matter.
Okay.
So just to be clear, so here it goes like this?
Yeah.
And it's basically underground all the way up?
So there is a culvert, another culvert that daylights. It's very hard to see. Yeah, it's not that much, but probably around between these 2 houses, maybe the limits of it, and then it's all buried.
It's all buried like all the way up to
basically beyond West Side Field. And then downstream it goes into Mystic Lake. It's all an open
it's
channel
relatively
on that
close to
side.
Mystic Lake. And so what would be the part you'd be repairing? Just the part under Everett Avenue, or you'd be going north and south of that?
So it's essentially if you think of like the culvert being a box and these are the walls and this is the top, we're essentially working on like the walls, the sides.
How long?
For how long? How long a run?
There's a little bit of riprap placement at the walls, but you're not going up and down the stream channel, if that's what you're asking.
I think so.
Like it's just essentially at the wall. We're not, even though we have a 5-foot easement,
But we're trying to repair, so we have the Everett
Linear
Ave
feet.
kind of crossing, but how far upstream would you go toward Ginn Road and toward Church Street? And how far down toward the
we
boat
would be
club?
working within the 5-foot easement. Well, we'd be primarily working within the 5-foot easement from the back of sidewalk. So
That's where the repair is that you think needs to be done.
well, the repair is the actual wall, the walls, and then the walls on the inside. There's really no work on what we'd call the channel. So like beyond the walls of the culvert would be the channel. So there's really no work on the channel. There might be some riprap being placed right at the corners. That's about it.
Why would that be true? Why would the culvert part need the repair but not the whole channel? Is it just because it doesn't get the exposure to weather, or?
So we didn't really inspect the channel itself, but the culvert is really structural, whereas I'd say the channel is not really structural per se. It's got the side slopes. We don't own the channel. It's essentially a brook that's been channelized over time, so we don't own either side. We don't have, it's not necessarily the town's property, the channel that's there.
When you say the difference between the culvert and the channel, the culvert is what's going under
Everett Avenue.
Yeah,
Everett
so
Ave, and the channel is sort of the waterway on.
Yes, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, like Shore Road, the culvert is basically the road, and then everything else is the channel, similar to here.
And the culvert, if it fails, what does failure look like?
Yeah. Can you talk more about like why this is needed? Because you show these photos, it doesn't look terrible.
Yeah, so I didn't.
Those are just the railings.
Yeah, those are. I didn't bring
stuff down below.
I didn't. Well, let's see. I have one photo that's.
You've
not
explained
really
that we don't have plans for this.
Right.
You've explained that it needs maintenance and it was looked
Right.
at in
So-
maybe within 2 or 3 years.
So
but you really got to tell us like what's the risk of not doing this?
So the risk. So basically, one of the walls of the culvert is starting to tip and is being undermined, and then parts of the stones in the culvert that hold up the culvert, the wall, the ceiling, have big voids in them. And I don't think stones have necessarily fallen out, but just over time, you get large storms. It creates erosion, and it's creating that wing wall. It's called a wing wall failing. So that is sort of the most critical work in my mind. The railing is important from a safety standpoint, as is the downstream wall that's tipping over is also a safety issue. So there was an inspection report, and I don't recall if I had photos in my presentation to the capital.
We got to see some cool videos of little drones crawling through and looking around.
Yeah,
and
actually,
And there's actually drainage coming
Yes.
into the middle of the culvert also that you can't see that looked questionable.
So really,
Controlled drainage, which is
No, it was unknown to the town.
The side of the culvert falls in, the water can't clear down into Mystic Lake, and it will flood Everett Avenue.
Yes, and the abutters, upstream properties,
Close the road.
Is it a lot of volume of water that it carries? I mean, obviously, like yesterday would have been, or Saturday would have been a lot of water, but on a given rainstorm, is it high volume water?
Again, it definitely depends on the type of storm. I think typically on a regular day, there's not a lot of water, but it is very flashy because it takes a lot of the hills in the area, so it can come up pretty substantially.
Was it there that we saw it topped? Topped onto Everett?
So there are times when Everett Ave's been flooded, and it's not entirely clear if it's the channel itself or some of the drainage that comes in, because this is the low
From the
point
surface.
from a lot of different
Surface
areas.
streets. Yep.
And that's certainly something as part of a long-term plan that we would be looking at, but right now we're not looking
Well, that's
at
the
it.
other question. So if we do this work, first, how much money are we spending? And then second, how long would it last?
So the request I made was for $600,000, and that includes construction, the easements, and the construction administration. It's hard to say exactly how long a repair is going to last, but VHB was estimating 10 to 15 years. This is something that we probably want to follow up with some periodic
What would
inspections.
the replacement cost?
So the replacement cost would probably be around $1.5 million.
And that would be a 50-year kind of repair.
Probably maybe even longer, maybe 50 to 75-year repair.
Taurus always asks the math question, so I don't have to. It's
Well, it's not great math, right? I mean, in terms of a
good enough for us.
5 times longer for 2.5 times the cost, but it's good enough for us.
I mean, it is what it is.
Have to do the easements either way.
True.
Right. But we have to agree with the project to want to stand in front of town meeting and ask for easements. Right.
Yep. Okay. And go ahead, Patty.
VHB had done a presentation at the March 10th select board meeting, and I'm sending you that report right now.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions for Matt? And then I was going to give Roger and Brian a chance to, I think, make the pitch for fall town meeting articles, and then I think we'll just take that up and we'll go back through the rest of our articles. So I know capital planning is looking for co-sponsorship of this article. We have a note. And Roger, if you want to just say more about that, but I think we understand what we need.
I have a couple more questions.
Oh, okay. Go
I
right
didn't want to
ahead.
interrupt you.
All right, go right ahead.
So Matt, you said that 2-3 years ago, it was recommended that these repairs be done within 2 or 3 years. And you said that we don't know the full state of the situation underneath Everett Avenue right now. And there have been some unexpected inflows that have been discovered. So it sounds like we don't know when the likelihood of a failure might be.
Yeah, so as part of the final design, VHB is going to go out there again and do not a full inspection, but look and see what's changed since the initial inspection.
Yeah.
And that would inform, any additional scope that they're putting together as part of the report. But it certainly hasn't been inspected in the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm. And if we do get to that point of failure that you want to avoid, how does that impact the cost of getting this fixed?
Do a full replacement then?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly very likely a full replacement. I'm not sure why you would want to do a repair unless it was an emergency repair.
Thank you. It's very helpful to have the VHB report. Thank you.
Why are we doing the repair as opposed to the replacement? Is it solely capital availability, or is it also speed of getting it done, and like we just need to do it now? and we don't have time to engineer a full repair.
Well, in my opinion, it was the capital availability compared to other projects that are on the horizon, and knowing that it was a 2 to 3 year horizon to do the repairs versus trying to plan for trying to fund a full reconstruction.
Bill, I won't move on until you say you're done.
I'm done.
Okay,
Thank you.
sure. Roger or Brian, but capital planning.
I think we just are concerned about the potential of failure as much as anything. And I've got to say, the costs have escalated as we've gone through this. So originally, the payback was a little bit better than it is right now, I would agree. However, there are concerns if you look at that railing about the ability of a vehicle to mount it and go in. That's been there for some time, but that's a concern. And you don't get the good scary pictures, which I wish you would have brought, of looking into the culvert and seeing the rocks falling down and the state of that. So that concerned us to a great deal of extent. We've reached the end of our sort of recommendation. Yeah, there you go. You do have those. Very good.
Thanks to Patty.
Can you forward that?
Patty just did.
It's in your email.
Okay. So we've sort of reached the end of our authority in this process. And what we want to do here is we want to move the project forward. The town engineer has indicated that some takings will be required. That would require action on your part. We're asking you to co-sponsor with us, not because we want to see a taking occur, but because we want to give you a tool in your toolkit, and we would hope that things would progress with the abutters and that a just and equitable agreement would be reached and that would not be necessary. But we want to give you a tool in your toolkit should we get to the point that we can't reach an agreement, that the town can proceed to make these repairs before we have an emergency on our hands. You're happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And these repairs will actually help those abutters a lot.
That's one of my questions. First, where did this fall in the capital ranking this year?
It's last year's.
Oh, last year's. Okay.
Yes. So it was actually above the line. It was above the line, and we couldn't get it moved forward last year because of
the potential takings.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But it was above the line?
Yes, it was above the line.
Which means it's taken out of the ranking process because of the safety issues involved. And then, Brian, you mentioned the impact upon the abutters. I don't know who's the best one to comment here.
The engineer would be the best, but...
Yes, so as part of sort of trying to line up the easements, we did send letters to the 4 abutters. We met with 3 of them. The other abutter is aware of the project through some other means, but after sending the letters out, we did meet with 3 of them and explain sort of what the easement process is like. We did work with an appraiser to start that process because, if you do a taking or an easement, you do want to give fair market value, so we wanted to start to evaluate that. And they were also, each of the abutters was given the opportunity to meet with the appraiser to discuss the project or any concerns that they have.
Does the current situation create a risk to their property that would then be alleviated by this?
Yeah, I think, as we said, if the culvert were to fail, certainly the upstream and potentially the downstream abutters could be impacted by flooding. So yes.
And closure of the road.
Yes.
They would be at the end of a dead end on either side, potentially.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
How long would it take to do the full replacement? I assume longer than 2 to 3 years.
How long you mean as a construction period?
No, from today. If we were to have $1.5 million magically appear. Design, engineering, construction.
I'd say probably a good year to 18 months to design it. I'm not sure how long the construction would take. Thinking about Lake Street, I think that was probably 6 to 8 months, and then some utility relocation. So probably that ballpark. So maybe like 3 years.
And hopefully those prices haven't escalated, and which is a hopeful,
And
they will escalate too.
And the repair is 2 to 3 years as well, though.
No, the repair is 2 to 3, well, the repair, I would anticipate the repairs being done next year. The easements, we asked for a 2-year period, just to make sure we have enough time.
Okay.
And if you've got $1.5 million that can magically appear, I'm not sure capital would spend it on that anyway.
Quite likely true.
We like magical money, so.
Yeah.
We all do. Stacy, what do you got?
It's a lot of excise tax. Restaurant meals.
String 10.
Okay. So, Select Board, one ask in front of us is to co-sponsor this article. So tonight, as it relates to fall town meeting articles, it's not to take positions on articles, it's to put them on the warrant. This is one, and capital planning has asked us to co-sponsor. We're short a member, but we still have enough people to take a vote. So people want to make a motion, and then we can continue to debate as the board. And don't go far, guys, in case we do have questions. But
I'll move that we co-sponsor the article that has disappeared for the Everett.
Looks like it's currently numbered 5.
For Everett Avenue culvert repairs to co-sponsor with the CPC.
Second.
Okay. Some additional discussion.
Does anyone recall, did we co-sponsor this in the spring, or just?
It got pulled.
No, it was, we would have.
We were going to stand
favorable
up.
action on it when it was initially came up for engineering study. And then it got punted from the spring.
Correct.
To sort
But
out
there was no
the
taking
initial-
piece to that. It was just the capital funding.
Correct.
It was is to fund the engineering
Just the money.
study.
Right.
Yeah.
And I certainly, Roger and I communicated we were going to stand up in favor or potentially even co-present, but we did not co-sponsor at that time.
Right, because there was no taking associated. It was just
Correct.
money.
Any additional debate?
I mean, I'm in favor of it. I think it's one of these projects that needs to be done for public safety, and the sooner the better. Takings doesn't make it any easier, but that doesn't mean we can ignore it.
Just an advertisement for capital. This is a perfect example, though, of if we did have the additional resource, we would rather do the project the right way. And I appreciate we're capital constrained, but when we do this stuff broadly, on roofs and, roads and bridges, it ultimately costs the town more. So it's a good example of that principle. But we also don't want to have an emergency on our hands.
Okay. Ready for the vote? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
As a aside to whoever is lucky enough to present this one to town meeting, the VHB report that Patty just shared with us
Talk about that.
Okay.
has images that are really helpful. So as much
These pictures.
as much as those images can be helpful to illustrate to people what's going on, because
Let the
as like
pictures
a
tell the story.
layperson.
Yeah, page 6 in particular
Yeah.
shows the thing.
Yeah, I just, as Bill, Roger, Brian, whoever gets
We gave this
that,
to Enzo.
whoever gets that, there's
You gave
good,
yours to
there's
Enzo.
good
Fine,
stuff.
we've not assigned anything here yet, so could be Anthea.
I
Save
like
you that
working with
thought.
Enzo.
Of water.
Both Georgetown grads.
All right.
No.
Thank you. Thanks for sticking through with us today.
Yeah, if you've got all of the rest of our things, I think we're going to come back again at some point, right?
Yes.
You've got plenty to do this evening, otherwise I'd say we'll walk you through the whole thing, but you've got enough to do tonight, right?
We do, and we have all your other motions. We will take that up when we're taking positions, but this was the one that you needed to have.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for
Helps
sticking
us.
through with us.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Good night.
All right, so if the rest of the board can just jump into the town meeting article section at the very end of our packet. The first several are just standard articles. They'll be on the warrant. I'll just draw your attention to Article 4, the Health Insurance Stabilization Fund. Stacy, it looks to be just under $70,000 by looking at your report. Yes. So we round up or use that number, but that we want to put on the article, sponsored by the Select Board, that's one that I'd like to see if town meeting's ready to take that one under consent. We've done it now for, 3 fall town meetings in a row. I wonder if it can just be an article that just gets on. We just discussed Everett Ave. Next up is 160 Forest Street, transfer to the Affordable Housing Trust. So this is one, regardless of any discussion on what is happening in terms of the property development, we own 160 Forest Street. This would authorize us to convey it to the Affordable Housing Trust. It's certainly an action I think we wanted to take at the Springtown meeting and didn't. So this one makes a lot of sense.
What's the purpose of this? Because, AHT is part of the town, right? So is this this is like similarly to this memo we have on Mystic School, it's a transfer of land from one care and control body to another?
Correct.
Do we need to do this?
It was our original intent to do this.
Yes.
And it was,
Sure, but for what?
On the floor of town meeting, it was amended to be, instead of transfer to the AHT, transfer to the care and control of the select board.
For us to decide the disposition. Yeah, for us to decide the disposition of the property itself. It was
Yeah.
They made it a two-step process. Town
And
meeting
I've-
wanted it to become a two-step process.
part of
First to
that
take.
was because it was still being worked out with.
That's right. Some of the lien and mass health liens and land court decisions were very close to done, but they weren't fully clear at the time of town meeting. I think that official discharge of the lien by mass health came after town meeting.
Yeah, I support this. I'd rather the property be in the care and control of the AHT than us. I think we've all discussed how we're not necessarily the best board or committee for property management. I'm just trying to understand how we explain this to town meeting when, from my recollection, town meeting had those same concerns about the AHT and they instead trusted us more.
Well, I think AHT needs to show us their plan for this, right? And I think that's part of what Wednesday's meeting is.
Okay.
Because the goal is if it's in AHT's hands, they are authorized, they have their own funding sources, they can move more quickly, they can develop the land on their own timeframes. That might be not, as I think we said this at town meeting.
We did.
Our agenda has, 12 items every 2 weeks. This will not get done at the speed at which AHT can. But
Yeah.
we need to actually have more details on what that plan is. I agree with that.
Yeah, because I want to see this succeed.
Yeah, no, I'm fuzzy on, there was like some specific nuance to why it got pulled out in like process of what was happening. I would have to rewatch that meeting to
It's fine.
capture it, but I don't think this was like I don't think it was put in to make something not successful. I think it was just to break the process into pieces.
Into 2 parts, that's what I recall too. Okay. So no one's making any sort of motion to take it off. We're going to keep it on. Okay, so the next one is HERO Act. We have 2 HERO Act articles. One is to accept the law to authorize an increase in the exemption amount, and the second is to actually set the exemption amount. This is one part when we're looking at, senior tax relief. This is more veteran-based, but do we think we can sponsor it? We are, we tax and the tax bills comes out of us. I don't think we're looking for we can have the veterans officer come into a future meeting and describe what this means. That was something Mark and I discussed this morning. Who would benefit or how many of our residents might qualify. But this is an option that's been available since August of last year, and it would provide some relief for veterans' property tax. And I'm going to throw it over to Paras if there's anything more he wants to say about it.
The actual exemptions, I believe, are older. The law you were describing in 2024, I think, greatly increased the amount of the value and also, I think, added some provisions to it. But it's exactly what you said. It's similar to our senior programs. It extends some of the programs for property tax abatement to veterans who meet certain income thresholds that are fairly low. Most towns do both. We just never accepted the veteran side.
Yep.
I would imagine. I mean, given the senior programs have relatively low enrollment from a much larger, potential population, I would imagine the number of folks in the programs would be relatively modest. I just think, in the scrub of all the programs we could offer, we discovered this, and I think it's the right thing to do. And so I think it's, a good thing for the select board to put their name behind.
So one thing I'm going to talk with, we wanted the new acting town manager to start, but I will coordinate with Greg Quill as our veteran officer. It was Al Weil for years. I'm going to ask Greg to come into a meeting. I think this motion is pretty well baked. I don't know that we need it before October 10th with motion language, but a meeting in late September, early October for Greg to come in and just explain to the board potentially, impacts, benefits, outreach plans, whatever it might be. But as our veteran officer, this was certainly the target population. So more to come on that. He can certainly explain it better than I can. So we'll let him. All right. We'll keep that. So the next is potentially the acceptance of MGL Chapter 138, Section 12D. This is a new law, part of the most recent governor's budget that allows towns to approve on-premise wine and malt beverage license holders to transfer their license for all alcohol. So it transfers malt, beer and wine licenses to all alcohol. We can keep that on. We could see, we have not heard from the Board of Health yet, I don't think, and I've not outreached to the Chamber of Commerce yet because we've not taken a specific vote to keep it on the warrant as a board. And I don't think we have the specific language or the motion yet. We would need that from town council.
Where did this come from? Just did businesses ask us to?
Yeah, I couldn't find this in the code.
It's brand new.
Right.
It came from, I think, in just looking at some cleanup and recently passed laws, we asked town council to sort of say what are some other options at fall town meeting that towns can take. So
it's basically the staff review of.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Well, and it's, is it that then if they wanted a different license, they wouldn't need to do like all of the lift of paperwork to make that, or would it just be done within the office? Like, is it something that would still come before the board?
That I don't know. That's a fair question.
I think, given that it's brand new and...
I can find the original email that Jay sent us. I mean, the letter itself is in your packet.
Patty, if you see something that talks about specifically the mechanics of it, that would be helpful. But I think where Anthony is going is there might still be some details to work through.
Yeah.
So we have one option. We can keep it on and we officially vote it next week. We can see if there's any more details that come in. We can not keep it on. But we don't have to finalize it until our meeting next week.
Do we know how many current businesses have the wine and malt beverage license that could be traded in for an all alcoholic beverage license?
We must have a few beer and wine licenses.
Well, we do.
We do. We have a handful.
It's more, I think, when you're looking at the fact that when they sell a business.
Yes.
So when the business is sold, they have to turn that license in. They cannot transfer it over to the new owner. The new owner has to go through all the application process.
They submit a change of license category amendment application to the select board.
Yep.
And we
So
would probably
Anthony, so we do still have to approve. So that answers
we
that.
have to approve it, but I don't know if we have to have a hearing. I think we would probably consent it. I think, right?
It's not clear if they have to have, and if it's a new application, would we collect another $50, $100 fee? We certainly could, but it would still be within our purview to grant
It'd be within our purview. We could do whatever we want, I suppose. But it's supposed to be basically, they have like an online form and you type in your stuff, print it, and give it to your local board.
Click a different box.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be.
Yes.
I can send this to you, Anthea.
I think I was looking at the same thing as you were, and the same language.
You're looking at
You
this.
got it too. It's the only return on that search. I think.
Do we want more details?
I would be fine to just say let's hold on this one. I don't need to jump right into it. It came. Maybe there's interest in it. Maybe it would simplify things, but
If you want to hold it on, it's fine. For what it's worth, I'm fine with it. It's something a couple of businesses may want, but if you want to hold on it, I'm not going to debate it.
Are the current on-premise wine and malt beverage licenses transferable?
when sold, I don't know.
My question is this making something transferable, non-transferable?
That's just that would be their decision, right?
Let's ask Jay.
You don't have to change your permit. That's
Correct.
an option.
But it says if you change.
But if you do change, it would become non-transferable. And so I'm
Let
just
me-
trying to understand
Their choice.
Bill, why don't I ask that of Mead Tellerman as well and get back to us for our next week meeting?
Yeah, if there's a either more sort of state resources or summary on that, and that would be really helpful because this is kind of.
There's also, maybe this is the point, Anthea, like, of all the things we have to worry about, if this one is just I'm not sure how much value there is in spending a huge amount of, your time or Jay's time on this at the moment when the chamber hasn't asked for it or.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And
If no one's clamoring for it, do we want the possible
We can kick
distraction
it to
create?
the spring when we have more time.
yeah,
That's
and
a
then
fair
make
point.
it
All right. Well, it can live to next week at least, and I'll try to get some more detail. How's that?
Sure.
Sounds great.
All right. Next up are solar. So PARs, these are
Yep.
currently they're using kind of the language we had for Lynch. If there's, we're going to need some more detail on one or the other next week.
Yeah.
Or we can kind of keep them, but we still would at least need to change the location and potentially the duration for a PPA, if at a minimum. If we're going to keep these on the warrant,
Yes.
then we just need to change them to be more
I
specific.
think certainly the location needs to be changed. The duration, I think up to 30 is probably right. They're generally 20 or 25. We got so we've narrowed, I think you guys heard the state of the town, we've narrowed the potential project list. There's 8 projects given to select to one, which is the high school gym roof. We need, they sent us a proposal, which I didn't actually see myself, but I talked to our sustainability manager who did get it. That was, a little bit impractical in the number of panels they had on there and the lack of ability to walk on it, let me put it that way,
there you go.
which is typical. So he has sent it back for them to factor in the load-bearing specifications from a structural engineer.
Railing, maintenance, all those things.
Well, yeah, just
Pathways
the
too.
pathways, the sort of reality. So they are going to come back with a proposal soon. I think we'll have it in, a week, week and a half. I think that we should just keep these on as placeholder articles. If we think it's a viable project, we'll know that well ahead of town meeting. If we don't, we'll pull them.
Okay,
I think it's headed, sorry, Michelle, I think it's headed the PPA route, but I think we might as well keep them both on there.
So then I'll work with Mark then to reflect Winchester High School gymnasium roof at 80 Skillings Road, 30 years for the PPA. So we'll just change those highlighted things to reflect the high school gym.
Yep.
And we'll send it back to you.
Yeah, great.
And maybe Ken should probably take a look
And
at
Ken,
it.
yeah. And then I think we have to first get the proposal back from Select. We need to sit down with school committee, EFPBC as a joint meeting as well.
Okay. Next up, some financial articles. So there are 3 here. I'm not sure if we still intend to do general stabilization. Let's take them one at a time. So we have transferred to the OPEB trust. Both of these first 2, 11 and 12, I was communicating with FinCom's chair today? I don't know. FinCom meets tomorrow night. If there is a number, so for the comptroller's benefit, this is to put some money back into that OPEB line that was not appropriated at the spring town meeting. Whether that number is $350,000, which has been traditional, whether it's 300 or something less, but it's something, we don't have to decide on the number today, but I did ask Derek if FinCom had a preferred number, because they certainly are mindful of free cash, to let us know. And we also want to see if FinCom wants to put this under there. They have a standard article to adjust current budget line items. This could be a motion. So one way or the other, we want to potentially get some money into OPEB. It could be under FinCom's article. It could be a standalone for us. Bill, are you coming back, Bill? Yep. Oh, is that a good, maybe?
Yeah, he left his stuff.
Okay.
I would.
Just the language, I want to
Yeah,
mention
sorry.
it's not raise and appropriate unless we're using tax revenue or other revenue, it would be.
Transfer from
Transfer from available funds, yeah.
Transfer from other funds? Is that the right language?
Free cash or other available funds. We can work on the article.
Can you, yeah, could you do that for me? Thank you. Did you have a number that would you like me to communicate something to FinCom tomorrow? Stacy, you're going to FinCom tomorrow as well, right?
I think it communicates just clarity to our rating agencies to stick with our 350.
Good with that? Okay.
And I do think free cash is obviously something we need to be mindful of, but we had forecast that number being in the 15s. I think the certified number we just got was 18. So we do have this isn't spending the money. This is setting aside of money in the investment account, right? So it's not finding something new. It's financing an obligation we already have. So I think taking 350 out of there would just be a responsible approach.
And Stacy, my understanding from Derek is that it will be part of FinCom's discussion tomorrow night. So hopefully, if it isn't, thank you, bring it up. Excellent. As will, I think, the next one, which is the hiring of an additional custodian for the Lynch School. Again, this is a article that FinCom could put under their cleanup general budget article. We have detail of personal services expense. There's some combination of outsourced services as well as personal services. Pete Lawson has shared that data with you, Stacy, and I know that Mark has shared it with FinCom. So depending on where this particular one goes, we may have it under our name. It could be under FinCom's name. And then I think the last one there is, do we want to make a general stabilization fund deposit? That I haven't had as many conversations about with FinCom. But I feel like we could do both, or we could just do OPEB in this round.
I think it's really important we bring that number up. If we wanted, my strategy was at Springtown meeting, assuming we're on good solid ground, we have a sort of stabilized budget with the successful override. It could be after that if it's delayed or we don't. We make a large transfer, from free cash to general stabilization. That was the proposal I had written down. We're supposed to be roughly balanced between the two. We're at 3% on one and 12 on the other, and now we're 18, so a little higher, but we're literally at 3% on general stabilization. We're supposed to be at 5 to 7.
Mm-hmm.
So we should double that number. Go from 5 million to 10 million. Stacy doesn't remember, correct? Really, ever us putting money in or out in a dozen years. Yeah. So the only person who seems to remember it was financial crisis era FinCom chair. So, we're talking 16 years ago when the last time we did this. And so it's really stable money, right? Because it takes a 2/3 vote to get money in or out. So I think that it behooves us to talk about it at town meeting, potentially in the state of the town, presentation or the briefings around it, and say, this is something we're going to bring to you. I would, to me, the correct number is like 10 million. So whether we put $250,000 or $300,000 aside, we're currently at 5 million. If we want to do it really slowly, like OPEB, sure, or we could just do this in Springtown meeting with the big transfer.
So, okay. So we have a choice. We can keep it, and you could still talk to it, and IP it on the floor. You could keep it with a modest amount of money, like $50,000 or $200,000. We can certainly keep it until we vote these next week. Or do you want to just push it all to the spring? I mean, I think there's an opportunity to educate town meeting on this OPEB article and weave in general stabilization. There's an opportunity to speak to it specifically and to tee it up for the spring. I don't really have a strong preference.
If we want to keep it on and then talk about it and then actually IP it, is that kosher?
That is an option. I mean, the moderator may not love that if you're watching, but that is always an option.
Creating a speaking slot for ourselves. I think, my recommendation to the board would be to really start to use general stabilization as our core long-term savings account quickly. Not like now, meaning when we're in a position to put $5 million into it. And to me, that would be in the spring. So I'm comfortable putting it on and then using it as a place to educate town meeting about what we would come to them, I would hope with FinCom, with the recommendation to do. Because I think putting, 7% or 6.5% of our total operating reserves into GS is a really strong move for us.
Okay.
And I think we'll have the resources to do it. We have $3 million of free cash today, and if we're in a stabilized position, putting 10 of that in general stabilization is pretty reasonable.
So when we have this warrant article on Wednesday, warrant meeting on Wednesday, we'll keep it. I think the other thing, kind of like PPA that we did when we did Lynch Solar, was we spoke to both in the presentation, right? We go this way or that way. So you could still speak to both, and even if you IP it, you can still weave it into the presentation. So we can print it, we can get the words out of there, and then if FinCom gets behind a specific appropriation or not, we can at least speak to what we're trying to do long-term. Okay. Then the next two, McDonald Field.
We will bring an article to
funny.
you.
That
I'm
is
working
funny.
on getting
That's
it.
creepy.
We talked about that a lot. Working on getting an article together and a meeting together and getting everything done all in one fell swoop at the end of this week.
Okay, at the end of this week. Okay.
What are we renaming it to?
There was a request submitted to waive the waiting period and rename it the McDonald Field, the playground that's at McDonald Field after Jimmy Johnson.
The playground doesn't presently have a name, so it's not displacing anything.
Yep.
Just playground.
Okay. And then the last is Mystic School. So we have at the table, among the many pieces of paper we had today, there have been some ongoing negotiations, or at least conversations, I should say, between Andrew at schools and Mark. And there will be a vote, we expect, this Thursday on the school committee to access the Mystic School to the town. That comes with it several things, which is there's a motion to give it to the town needs to accept it. There's an article that would go to fall town meeting that I think school committee would like us to co-sponsor. I'm not suggesting that we co-sponsor something that we haven't yet seen for a vote they haven't yet taken, but it's something we could do next week. We would then inherit the lease with Kid Connection, and that lease expires in 2026 with some remaining 2 one-year renewals. So backing up to the town meeting vote, it is a 2/3 vote of town meeting to transfer that asset to the town. But with that would come the revenue from the lease with Kids Corner, not Kid Connection, with Kids Corner, and what to do with the lease when that lease expires. So that's this is more detail than I'd had when Mark first brought it up last week, and he wrote this memo for us today just to give us a sense of what the steps are. So a vote of the school committee, a vote from the select board to want to receive the gift, a town meeting action to allow that transfer of care and custody to happen, and with that transfer would be a tenant with Kids Corner and the associated revenue, as well as the terms of that lease. I don't know that we would be looking to renegotiate the lease.
The revenue goes currently into the equipment fund?
It goes to the schools.
So just into their general school building rental, that's what I meant. not
Yes.
equipment. School building rental fund, yeah.
Yep.
There is such a town building rental fund that we'd have to adopt locally to segregate the money, but it would just go to the general fund otherwise.
Yeah, which is fine. Do you want us to comment on it?
Sure.
Or is it an FYI? Okay.
It's more of an FYI, but feel free to
Okay.
comment.
Yeah, I mean, I think just given, I've talked to the director of REC about this and to some of the school committee members. I think given who's there, which is one of our town operating departments, it creates a lot of dissonance when the board and the staff members who have care and control of the building are different from the person who's operating the program there day in and day out. I think it's created a lot of problems historically, and so I would.
You weren't here when we were trying to put the heat in there.
Please don't bring me back to those days.
So I would support, the school committee handing this sort of back to us. I would support it. We have to figure out what we want to do with it long term, but at least to support the rec department properly, I think it best lives with us.
Yeah, and it'll be easier to plan for the long term when the same entity is planning for the building and the department that it manages that's in the building. It's a better silo.
Okay. So I think we can certainly, I'll circle back with Frank and Andrew tomorrow and let them know that the sort of consensus of the board is we're supportive of it, that what needs to happen, and then we would need to get the article back in front of us to put our name on it, like we just did with Everett Ave's culvert. So, okay. Those are fall town meeting articles. Mike is not here to champion Forest Circle, any potential acquisition for that, but that would need to make it onto the warrant by next week.
The WCCP, though, has asked for us to discuss that in public. I respect that Mike's not here, but I feel like we also have to...
Go right ahead.
Well, can we do something less contentious beforehand?
Sure.
Do you want to vote some contracts?
No, actually.
Do you have a fall town meeting article?
I have a fall town meeting article. So I think I raised this with you earlier. There was previously an equal opportunity committee for equal opportunity. The decennial review had proposed to remove that section entirely from the bylaws, and there's a desire, and I think we could place an article on that reestablishes that committee as a human rights commission and modifies the existing language of the bylaw to kind of support that. So it's been out of place for probably 20 years, if not more than that, I think.
Can you just, the Human Rights Commission is obviously something a lot of our neighboring towns, but all of our neighboring towns have. Can you describe kind of what that would look like?
So what I've seen in terms of revisions of it is to make it a much smaller commission and a committee than what the previous committee was. The previous committee was 15 residents, so bring it down to 5, as well as representatives from select board and school committee. And have that be sort of a committee that looks at policies, programs for the human rights of our residents, sort of in line with we have a human rights statement, I think, on the board, so it kind of aligns with that. And then might give some sort of additional support to their role and their advocacy. So I think, there's worry that that's going to get sort of wiped out and from the decennial review to remove that because it was inactive, and rather than removing it, it's an opportunity to commit to a sort of human rights committee and do something.
Has anybody gone to GovRegs? Because they do have some updated articles, which I will circulate for next week's meeting.
Not aware of what GovRegs is doing.
Yeah, sorry, to be clear, so GovRegs has proposed removing what's EEOC? What's the body they've proposed?
I don't think it was EEOC.
That's a federal agency.
Removed at the federal government. The Committee for Equal Opportunity.
Right. So is this a GovRegs thing, or are you proposing just creating a Human Rights Commission de novo?
So I guess creating it, but creating it based on, what was originally there. So revising the language from what previously existed. Like, we had a previous committee taking that language around the committee, but that hasn't been here for, it was created, and I think specifically in the language dissolved at one point. So the reason GovRegs brought into it is because in their, I think in their proposal in the spring was that because that section was remove that section. So if you're inspired by GovRegs' decision to recommend the deletion of that to then go create something new, I'm all in favor of that. I don't though link them like from a warrant or from a bylaw perspective. Like I think we should create a Human Rights Commission. Right.
I believe literally when I researched it a few months ago, like every one of our neighbors has one. Like literally all of them do.
Yeah, I think it's more, let's create this, and we have some existing language in our bylaws. It's inactive language, but we have some existing language in our bylaws that kind of sets the table for it a bit. So let's not lose that. Let's not fully reinvent the wheel when we have a parked wheel.
I just think we're we are going to end up in a very confusing spot if we link it to gov regs and the equal opportunity. So I would just say, if we want to create a human rights commission, which I would be in favor of, we should look at Lexington and which I know has had a very successful one, Arlington, potentially as well. But Woburn, Stoneham, they all have one. So maybe we grab a couple examples and just craft an article that says it's going to be 5 to 9 members. These are going to be its duties.
Yeah.
I would assume we would do that with someone, the school committee. Presumably.
Yeah, and actually, we spoke with Lexington a couple of years ago now, 2 years ago, with someone from that committee just about what that looks like.
So and are you suggesting you'd co-sponsor with school committee for the fall? I'm just, if there's language that we can get for all of us to read, I think that'd be useful, and then the mechanics for next week.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah. It sounds like we're all supportive of something happening here.
Yeah.
Not in the fall, I'm not, but I'm supportive of, I think it feels a little rushed. Not that, and Anthea did mention it to me, and it was like, well, if GovRegs is doing their cleanup, and I think I'd rather, if we can get it together, maybe, but I'd almost rather see it go for the spring.
Right. So on timing, to me, it's just, we should do the work.
Yeah.
To me, we can talk to GovRegs if we want, but we need to just do the quick work of how do people structure them, what do they do, talk to a couple towns, and put forward a real proposal to have a human rights commission, period. And I would imagine the school committee would want to do it with us, but because generally, I think Lexington, it's all select board appointment, but in other towns, it's school committee, select board, and town manager. It's general, and sometimes moderator. Those are the 4 bodies who appoint them. And not like all 4 in all cases, but it tends to be those 4 bodies. So,
but let's see what we can get done.
Yeah.
So, sure. If it's ready for prime time, it'll get there. If it isn't, well, it'll get there in the spring. But let's see what we can get done. Okay. Back to Forest Ridge.
So I have to acknowledge, this is a little unfair because Mike isn't here, but he has expressed at least his opinion about the Forest Ridge project to the WCCP a number of times. I know that at least I personally disagree with some of the representations that have been made to the WCCP, and so my perspective on any potential article concerning funding the Forest Ridge project as it is, right now would be unsupportive for the sake of fall town meeting. I would be against it if I had to vote on it today. For people who are listening and maybe hearing about this for the first time, this is an idea of acquiring approximately, is it 13 acres of land?
Correct.
Off of Forest Ridge.
Correct.
Between Forest Ridge and 93 and the Stoneham town line. This has been targeted for development in the past, but has never been successful to move forward. Nobody has ever purchased it. And so the opportunity is before the town to potentially purchase it and do something with it. We've heard a number of ideas, but they've been very amorphous, I guess I would say, between conservation land, some sort of development that may or may not include affordable housing. And I think those are all really good ideas to continue to look into. But in terms of moving forward and committing funding at this point in time, I am not supportive, as I think we need to have a very well-baked, well-developed plan that actually demonstrates what we want to do, how it's going to work. I think we have to be further along in negotiations with the current landholders. I've expressed my opinion in executive session that I don't think those negotiations have progressed in the best way for the town's interests, and I don't think moving forward at this time would help with that. I would really like to see something happen, but I think there has to be a lot more work, a lot more research, a lot more planning, a lot more documentation before we go to town meeting, potentially saying we want $4 million, maybe funded through the CPA, to purchase this land, or something along that scale of a number. So while I hope we can continue to work on it, it's just not something I can get behind at this point in time. And I wouldn't want to see, especially our nascent CPA, which is going through its first round of funding, take on a very large project that might be unwieldy, that isn't fully planned out, and some of the other applicants have put together some very detailed packages that I would much rather see be the example and the precedent moving forward. So to the extent that this board has the opportunity to either support or not support an article concerning the Forest Ridge project, as it's known, I'm personally not in favor of it right now, but I'm only one vote, and I have to let the rest of you speak for the rest of the board, well, for yourselves.
I'm happy to, unless Anthea, you'd like to speak first.
I mean, I think I have I've had some discomfort around this for a while because there's there's a lot of unknowns with it, and it's really going in as a CPA application with those unknowns hanging over it. So as something that we're fully pulled together and sort of fully baked and signed off on by the select board. I don't really think that it's something we've done. We've kind of given the let's move it forward, but our blessing has been not in the form of seeing and knowing what's being proposed and how it's being proposed. So I probably don't hold as firm a ground as Bill does, but on a lot of things. But I think that this one is sort of puts us in a tough position of something that's not fully formed to go before the CPA and to go before the town meeting in the fall.
So land acquisitions and bonding require 2/3 votes of town meeting, which is a high bar. And most of the CPA projects, actually all the other ones, but certainly most of them require simple majorities. So this one has to be really buttoned up. The way I've thought about this, and I've communicated this to Mike and to all of you several times, is that there's sort of three potential scopes or reasons to approach this project, and they're not mutually exclusive, but one is the affordable housing piece on Forest Circle itself, which could be, I've heard numbers from 1 to 2 all the way up to 4 to 6. I'd pick a number in that range, probably on the lower end of it, having seen the narrowness of the space, but there's a scope there. There's a recreation scope, which is the ability to enjoy the land and interconnect it with the fells, particularly the North Border Trail. And there's a wilderness scope, which is my term for it, which is a protection and land bank from development. The affordable piece, I might, and I'm not going to talk about dollar numbers here, but I might attribute sort of 25 to 30% of the total project value to that piece of it. So that leaves the other sort of 70%, 70 to 75%. The recreation scope is harder for me to attribute much value to in terms of building trails through that space that are then interconnected to North Border Trail would be hard to see. We haven't included that in our CPA application, I don't believe. So that would be then future work that would have to get done. So I don't attribute in this request much to that one. And then the other 70 to 75% sits on the open land protection. So this is protection from development, not enjoyment, but just raw protection. And on this one, I could be convinced, but I think we just need the time to understand this properly. I had read through some documents about the severe challenges of accessing this piece of land from Stoneham, and potential legal issues with accessing the western half via the eastern half because of some legal doctrines that exist there. I also do appreciate that somebody could buy. This is something that was shared with me earlier, with all of you as well, by Mike, that somebody could take out an individual house and put a road through it. And we do need to understand that, because I don't think we want to see that area developed. So to me, the key question is going to be, can we justify 70 or 75% of the purchase price on the land protection if it just stayed virgin forest? And I think the answer is we could, we just haven't yet. And that's where, to me, you know, a developer has owned this for a decade and they haven't made any progress. And for us to ask until Springtown meeting to get that question sort of fully settled, I think is an important one before we stand in front of town meeting and ask for a 2/3 vote. Two other points I'll just raise on that front. Again, these are more in the realm of things we need to think about, not that are forever fatal to this concept, but we just need time to do our work. The affordable piece, I think, is one piece of it. Again, the minority, the open land protections, the larger piece of it. There have been questions raised about title and the clarity of that title.
Title is clear.
Title is clear. Okay, so good. So
Got that
that's
from
one
the
thing.
attorneys.
We did get that one back. And then the other one that I think is important is if we're taking $40,000 off the tax roll permanently, we have to value that. I don't think that doesn't count as purchase price. That's not a economic theory I would subscribe to. And generally, you would divide, you know, the tax take by the discount rate, the cost of capital of the town. That's how you value a perpetual bond. So if we take, you know, 5% as the denominator and the numerator is 40,000, Stacy, or is it 50? I don't know if you know offhand. It's 40 or 50,000.
Call it 50.
So that would be 800 to $1 million. And I think because it is a perpetual removal from the rolls, and I think that has to be added to the number too. So again, that bulk of that would sit on the wilderness, what I call the wilderness piece, the open land piece. And I'm not at a point where I'm willing to say I would stand in front of town meeting this fall and say that that we can justify the price on the basis of that open land protection. I think we still have more work to do.
So I'll just add some perspective. 10 years ago, when property probably was worth less, town meeting acquired 12.5 acres of land at Right Lock Farm for $8.6 million. $688,000 per acre for open space. Different topography, different location, but $8.6 million for 12.5 acres, none of which was to be used for housing. I don't know what number we're talking about for 13 acres, but town meeting certainly got behind a number, and that was all borrowing, straight borrowing. We're still paying off the debt today. That's not the land that we heard about tonight, the 7.5 acres that they farm. It's the 12.5 where the all-season barn sits. And town meeting felt it worthwhile to protect that open space to the tune of $688,000 an acre. So I think that's relevant. And I think the notion that we couldn't get town meeting educated, I agree there's more details, but open space has value. Open space has been supported by town meeting. And you would think those 12.5 acres, if they went on the market today, would cost us a lot more than $8.6 million.
And in that case, there was a directly viable development proposal on the table in the case of Right Lock.
Yeah.
And that's not
Directly viable.
What do you say?
3 directly viable.
Correct. And I believe the town excluded the purchase price in the 2007 vote. Right. It was the town meeting put it on the ballot for the voters to decide on. Right. Mm-hmm. They didn't take it out of free cash.
No.
Correct.
Right.
Well,
So
any purchase here could be done through borrowing as well. It need not be free cash. That could be a town meeting vote to acquire.
What town meeting did in that case was to block, to your point, 3, live development proposals. We don't have a live development.
2007 vote was $12.5 million for 20 acres, which then a developer purchased.
Right.
And there was still a balance, and the town lost $2 million on selling it for 8.6. The town's still paying $2 million of unrealized value.
And that, okay, so with Right Lock, you're saying that none of that was the space that the actual operating farm and the educational programs operate on today.
The 2007 was the full footprint, the 8.6 million of which the town still, The Conservancy bought it, that's what we sold it for. We sold 12.5 acres for 8.6. We're still paying down debt on the unrealized delta. And that's the 12.5 acres that is not farmed. That's correct.
And that was what's there today. You said the All Seasons barn is there today.
The Fast Forest.
Right.
Open space.
Right. So I think the important distinction that I would have, and again, it's why I'm not against this permanently, is that in that case there was a live proposal. There was the pressure that we had to do that. In this case, we have a family saying to us, we want to do this by this date, but they've held the asset for 10 years, right? And or roughly 10 years, and they hadn't done anything with it up until now. So we are faced with a less urgent sort of need to, in that case, sort of stop a project. The other thing I would say is that at least some of that was used for, I mean, you said that it was just the Fast Forest, or you're saying the barn, the All Seasons barn was built on that space as well?
That was fundraised and built.
On the space that was bought, the 12.5 acres? Right. So I guess that's where I struggle to see the recreation piece of this, which is that was an operating farm that we wanted to do a set of projects with. Here, the recreation scope would be extending North Border Trail into an adjacent set of woods when hikers would have the totality of the fells to hike in to begin with. I appreciate the open space protection piece is, again, the part I would hang this on, the bulk of it anyway. The problem I'm having there is I am not today convinced it is buildable based on access from Stoneham.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
Fair enough. I'm just saying, in both cases, though, all of those acres, so we sold it 8.6 at a loss. We're still paying down the debt. We sold it for open space. And in both instances, all of those parcels and all that acreage came off the tax rolls. Mm-hmm. It's a very equivalent transaction. If we're getting $50,000, $60,000 per year in taxes from the family, which that number, we can check it with the assessors, it's something like that. We went from tax revenue to no tax revenue. Mm-hmm. In this instance, we go from tax revenue to no tax revenue. And we valued open space at $688,000 an acre when it was at the farm. Agreed, there is not the same imminent threat of development, but it is open space, which town meeting certainly can get behind. And town meeting didn't even try to be made whole. To be made whole was to get a development at 10-something million.
There's
they
nothing
chose to sell it at a loss.
There's nothing preventing folks from making the case directly to town meeting then.
Yeah.
I wasn't on that town meeting. I wasn't on that select board. And
so,
I'm not.
And that's
sort of,
it. So we could make the
bound
case
by
to
it.
town meeting, right? We could. Mike
But we're
could.
saying because we made a choice to, and I would really have to go through the particulars of what the select board put in front of town meeting, what they put in front of voters, what they did from free cash or from borrowing from the operating budget, and then what they paid for, which I don't have that set of facts. All of that said, I don't think that binds us to make the same choice.
I'm not
as made
suggesting
15
it binds
years
us. I'm just suggesting that I believe there's an appetite for protecting open space in this town.
Okay.
And it has a price, and I don't think it's an $8.6 million price is what we're looking at Forest Ridge. I don't know. We're having an appraisal.
So my key question is, if we believe this is land that could be developed and we can protect 12 acres roughly of virgin woods from development for a price, to your point, that is likely to be well short of that, I would probably be supportive of that. I have said for months at this point that the exact words I used were, whatever the town meeting presentation would look like, I would like
That's what I want to see.
That's what I want to see. Those are my exact words. And that was an executive session. But they're my words, so I can quote them publicly. That hasn't happened.
That's one of my problems. I just don't understand what this project is. And I understand that when Right Lock Farm went forward, there was a lot of homework done and a lot of presentations put together and a lot of just strong supported messaging well in advance of the question. And here, I feel like I get a different answer every time I ask. And I don't know how I can put my support. You've seen it with much less important things until I have something I can understand written in front of me, especially when it has a price tag of what we're talking about here. I just think we need to be cautious, especially when we're trying to demonstrate to this town that we're really taking all of our decisions with the utmost level of professionalism and documentation and not just rushing into something, especially where when it comes to municipal projects, sometimes you get your foot in the door and you end up being dragged along forever and ever and ever. And I don't want that to happen, not at the crossroads that we're at right now. And so I think we have time. Like, we've all now recognized there's no imminent threat of another person buying this property. So let's just do it right instead of rushing forward.
Well, and we can have a spread of opinions on whether this has been baked sufficiently. And so I guess to me, I would view this as I sort of voted to say we were comfortable co-sponsoring this to the WCCP with the view that I would like to see, as I said, what the town meeting deck would be, the vision for what we can do here, justified either on the combination of affordable housing, recreation, and open space protection. We sit here today with the view that, well, we have to go forward as a board. We don't have to go forward as a board. We can go forward as individuals, too.
Yeah.
Yep, okay. Do you feel that was sufficient public debate?
I think so.
Okay. Let's move on. Sure. We have a contract to vote, a couple of contracts to vote, and we can vote on the Climate Action Plan brand.
So we have the acting town manager's contract.
Yes.
And I'm just looking for the right wording for Patty.
Yep.
So move that we approve the acting.
I think it's interim town manager.
Interim town manager's contract and authorize the chair to sign on the board's behalf, or are we all signing it?
We're all signing it. Right?
And there we go. And
Yes.
move that we approve the interim town manager's contract.
Second.
Any discussion or debate?
Looking forward to having Steve.
Wednesday he starts?
Wednesday, he starts 8 o'clock. He has seen this contract. He is, as I mentioned, Labor Council worked with us on it. He has seen it and reviewed it. Mark and Stacy worked on it as well, so.
I did too.
And Patty did a ton on this. He's prepared to sign it Wednesday morning when he arrives.
Yes.
So, thank you, Patty. I know I was making you make tiny little edits. Okay, so if there's no more debate, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. I told Steve we'd be voting it tonight. I'll close loop with him tomorrow. Okay, then I think under other business, I wanted to vote the Climate Action Plan branding and then the Collins Center scope. Sure.
Oh, I was just going to jump to the Collins Center scope. So that's for our town manager search committee. So move that we approve the scope for the Collins Center in substantially the form presented to the board.
And we're still working on the scope of the work, but the contract is, the material terms,
finalizing
yeah.
the contract.
Correct.
With town council, but we approve that substantially.
You also have to
Authorize
authorize them to vote them.
Mark or Steve to sign
Okay.
for the Collins Center
Yeah, we went ahead
and the amount of money.
So when we do the contract, we just give them the normal terms that we usually have, so just basically minor edits
Yeah.
in the amount of the
Okay.
appropriation.
So in substantial form pending any.
So, in substantially the form as presented, pending any reviews from legal counsel and for a contract amount of $14,000 from the town manager's budget.
And then do we want to have the assistant town manager or acting town manager sign?
And authorize the assistant town manager or acting town manager to sign on the town.
That's fine.
Second.
Okay, any additional debate?
Sorry about that messy motion, everybody.
You didn't say and/or, you just said or.
I considered and/or.
No.
So, Bill, to your point, the agreement is we want a certain set of deliverables in a certain time frame, and you're the people to do it. I think how those deliverables specifically shake out and exactly how long we're going to give for maybe certain milestones, I think we still need to work through.
Yeah.
As a group, but I think we have some decisions that we've made.
In a sense, we're okay with the master services agreement. We're still working out the purchase order.
Yes, the specific statement of work.
There we go.
I agree. So we have a motion, we have a second. Any additional debate? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent.
Then we have the Climate Action Advisory Committee and Sustainability Directors request that we approve their newly designed logo for the Climate Ready Winchester, Our Town, Our Plan, Our Future. This memo was put in front of us today. I know I've been speaking to Mr. Pruitt a number of times over the past couple months. I think some other members of the board have as well. But this was something that was previously funded and been in the works for the past couple months. There's been collaboration across Town Hall on it, and the idea is to use this logo to help raise awareness about how the town is working to achieve its climate action goals, such as decarbonization. And we'd see it used on things around towns such as the new Lynch School sustainability features, or at the EV charging stations that can be found at the Jenks Center or Town Hall lot, or on the Wind Power website. So hopefully we raise awareness not only for the good that our town is doing, but also for the need that we all need to work on for climate action. And so with that, I would, just a call to action here, that the board approve the requested use of the Climate Action Committee's logo as put forward in the memo dated September 8th, 2025 from the CAAC and Sustainability Director.
Second.
That's a good motion. All right. Any debate on that? When Rick left, I said, you don't need to come back, Rick. We'll vote it later today. So, oh no. Okay. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And one thing I'll say, and Patty, I think this is more so you than Stacy, and maybe it's all of us in talking to WCCP, but I was somewhere in Boston recently and went by a park. You know, this park brought to you by the Community Preservation Act. We need to have a Community Preservation Act WCCP logo for whatever it is we decide to do. And it's a reusable sign that we hang up, like road work ahead. It's funded by the CPA. Everybody does it. It's nice to advertise it. Some people do it in permanents and plaques, right? This park brought to you by. But I think it'll be useful for if we said to the group, do something that shows progress that that voters can recognize. We should find a way to make sure we advertise it.
Yeah, they've spent a lot of time thinking about that. I think the logo and
the WCCP.
The CCP.
Good.
I remember.
And getting it printed on something that's durable.
Yes, I've been to some other towns, and most notably in Acton, where there's a children's museum, and they have a nice signage for the Acton Community Preservation Committee, and to be able to demonstrate to our residents what their tax dollars are going to, I think is just incredibly important and will pay off significantly. Yep. And hopefully get more people involved.
Yes. Mm-hmm. All right. So that little editorial. Last is consent.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Is that a motion to adjourn?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as posted for Monday, September 8th, 2025.
Second.
Wait.
Sorry, Maddie. What did we do? What did we do wrong?
One more.
Okay.
I went into detail with it.
All right.
Explain.
We can take the first one, then we'll vote the supplemental agenda. How's that? So the first one is the consent agenda. Motion's been made. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now we'll make a motion on the supplemental agenda.
Motion to approve the supplemental consent agenda for Monday, September 8th, 2025.
Second.
Okay. Go ahead.
Just a quick note, the supplemental agenda concerns the WYBS Rubber Ducky Race to take place next June at Winchester Town Day, where we're going to drop a few thousand ducks from a container suspended by a crane into the mill pond. And
Rubber ducks, not real ducks.
That's good distinction. this is coming with the approval of the Conservation Committee?
Yes.
So
We never had a problem with it.
they've never had a
We have
problem
that
with
in
it.
writing.
And so, given their approval, I am happy to approve this myself.
It's kind of fun.
It is kind of fun.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Now we can adjourn.
Motion to adjourn
Get your ducks
Yeah.
in a row?
in a row. Second the motion to adjourn.
Okay, all those in favor of adjourn?
Aye.
Thank you, good night, thank you, WinCam.
Thank you.